Before we start, the name is at the top of the screen. The story starts with a man pointing his finger at our female lead, and yelling to Yulia Noga that he will be annulling their engagement. Our female lead has a nonchalant look on her face in response, and notes how this guy is a complete moron. 5 years prior to all this, she was introduced to the eldest son of the Marquis Curian household, Rammer. She is told that the pair are now engaged and should try to get along. She herself is from the household of Count Noga. The young boy then accidentally speaks aloud about how the Count Noga's house is rich and only deals with business. Surely this would help their family pay off the debts they racked up. His father hushes his son, telling Rammer to be quiet. Later in a carriage, our female lead's father mentions how the engagement was proposed by the Marquis, who has a higher social standing than a count house. But that if his daughter does not wish to go through with this marriage, she can cancel. Our female lead mentions how her father must have already noticed. The Marquis household is clearly in debt and needs their family fortune to survive. Yet the furniture in their home was quite luxurious. These are the typical brainless nobles that fall into ruin. The rumors are exactly as said. Her father begins to speak, but Yulia carries on, saying that despite this, using the Marquis household title, the Noga family can expand their business, so the engagement can prove worthwhile. It is stated that the couple from the start harbored no romantic feelings for one another and that this was just a political marriage. Back in the present, the idiot rambles on about how a woman like her is not worthy of him and that he's already met an angel that goes by the name of Julie. He tells her this is who he will marry. Yulia calmly says that she understands. She wonders if this fool knows that the Marquis household demands payment from the Noga family monthly. The boy carries on to say that this conversation is over, and tells her he did not bring any money, so she needs to make sure to pay the bills. She says yes, noting how she will cover this expense. He then warns her to not dare harass Julie, to which she just waves goodbye. Our female lead notes how if he wishes to annul the engagement, then he should feel free to do so. Yet when he's referring to Julie, she wonders if he's talking about Miss Banake. Our female lead later stumbles upon a girl who has fallen face first onto the floor. Our female lead asks if the girl is hurt. The girl apologizes to Yulia and says that she is fine. This girl is said to be Julie Banake, a girl that had transferred here from school downtown this year. At first she was a commoner, but was later discovered to be an illegitimate child of Count Banake and taken into the family. She's got a cheerful personality which captivated Yulia's fiancé. Yet there is something that bothers our female lead. Later at school, our female lead greets Matilda, a former wet nurse of the royal family who turns 65 this year. Mommy Matilda says she has been waiting for Yulia, and mentions how she's got some excellent tea today and asks if they should try some. With tea on the table, the two begin their meeting. They will be continuing the publication of a book called Even If I Become a Noblewoman, I Will Do My Best. It's a story that became a huge hit amongst commoner girls and is said to be modeled based on real-life people. Yulia is a successful businesswoman that's in charge of product development, and her household specializes in purchasing merchandise. She's in charge of editing and publishing this book. She reads the manuscript, noting how the popular prince will appear in the next chapter. She questions Matilda on if the prince would actually nap under the shrubbery. Matilda says yes. Yulia says that they should have him nap in the gazebo so it'd be more believable for viewers. Mommy Matilda says that the prince would not nap in such a conspicuous place and it's not realistic. Yulia mentions how if a noble were to read this they probably would realize it was about the prince. So they probably should add a bit more fiction. Apart from the names, these people depicted in the story are all exactly like who they're based off of. Yulia says they need to make at least a small escape route and that this might get taken to trial and lead to huge losses if they don't. Something then catches the eye of our female lead. Matilda asks what is wrong, to which Yulia says it's nothing. Yulia notes to herself how the main character of this book was living as a commoner, but it was later proven she was an illegitimate count's child and taken to high school. This is where beautiful noblemen fall for her. The main character for this book is just like Julie Banake. This means that the setting of this story and all its people are based on Yulia's own high school. This means the behavior of Julie Banake, could it be? A few days would pass, and the setting of our story shifts to that of the high school courtyard. The novel she's editing mentions how the main character would often have secret rendezvous at the rose gardens. Our female lead is here with a magical recording device. Our female lead notes how if her assumptions are right, this is where her fiancé and Julie should appear. She notes how she's got the perfect view of the pond from this bush and that it's a great angle for a hidden camera. Her eyes then notice something that appears. There is someone laying down without a care in the world nearby. This person turns out to be the first prince named Radonic Reino Palacio. She notes how it would not be her problem if he's attacked by a lady who fancies him. But at the same time though, this is her first time seeing His Highness this close up. Her heart starts to beat. Before she's got a new business idea. His Highness would be the perfect model. She can mass-produce images of His Highness and it would lead to tons of profit. She then notes how it's not that good of an idea and decides to prepare her recording device now. The prince starts to blink before his eyes are wide open. The prince then sits up and asks if our female lead is Roland's younger sister. Our female lead turns around and shushes him. She whispers for him to keep it down as her targets are here. We see off in the distance as the idiot and Julie are speaking to one another, and Julie then falls into his arms. Yulia notes how this was as expected. The prince questions if that is Rammer of the Marquis household, to which Yulia says yes and that's her fiancé. The prince then has a stunned look on his face, as the couple carry on their business. Our female lead then turns to the prince asking for the date, to which he says it's the 4th of May at 3:33 p.m. Yulia then bows down and asks His Highness to please forgive her rudeness earlier. The prince says not to worry and how she must have her reasons. She tells him she'll leave it to his imagination. He says since she's recording, he assumes she'll be back here, to which she says yes. The prince mentions how this is his secret napping spot, and that if she were here every time then he'd be troubled by it. Our female lead notes how there isn't a better place for her to secretly film though and clicks her tongue. He wonders if she really just clicked her tongue at him. She then apologizes to him again. And says that she will not visit this place for a long time, since Rammer will be annulling her marriage with him in a few days. The prince notes how she said that with quite a lot of confidence. She tells him that this is in accordance with the prophetic writing. He questions this, before she then presents him with this so-called prophetic writing. A novel with a girl's face on it. She tells him to please check the bookmarked page and mentions how the scene they just witnessed is written exactly like this in the book. As he reads he seems to see her point but is still dubious. She mentions how he does not believe her. He questions why she was recording it. To this she says that it's because the prophetic writing labeled her as a stupid and jealous woman. Since Miss Van Eyck is the protagonist of this novel, that would make Yulia the villainous woman of this story. It's Yulia's duty to bully the protagonist, and if things go by the story, then Yulia will later be exposed for this. The fiancé relies on the villainess for this so he can annul the engagement. Yulia will be labeled the main perpetrator in the end for bullying and will lead a terrible school life. Now she gets passionate, saying that the real her is not an idiot or a jealous person for that matter. She's someone who is quite bright. And she has no love whatsoever for her fiancé. She wonders if it's alright to say this to the prince. She then says His Highness is not an important person in her life. He's like a cloud that floats above them all that wouldn't bother getting involved. One silly female subject does not bother him. He then mentions how she's Roland's sister and asks if he should not get involved with his friend's sister. Yulia says that does not mean he is a friend of hers. The world will not accept the friendship of the count's daughter with a fiancé and the prince. If her engagement is annulled, people will think she's aiming for a more important person. She'll be the prey of rumors. So it's best not to associate. The prince says he understands and will allow her to come here. But on the condition that they become friends. She is startled at first, and then grits her teeth and wonders why this guy doesn't get it at all. He seems shocked by the expression she is making. She then yells sorry after noticing. He chuckles for a bit before then saying that this was the first time a lady clicked her tongue at him since he was born. And she's done it twice. Yulia, now nervous, says it was an honorable offer, but since there is nothing to be gained from being friends with His Highness, she asks to please be able to decline. He questions her if she chooses friends based on what she gains or loses. To which she emphatically yells of course. She mentions how she's just a girl without any power, and becoming friends with His Highness comes with risks. She does not want to be troubled. He then mentions how he did help her before by telling the date and time. She notes how that is true. She notes how he's far more persuasive than she thought and she would need him to tell the time again later. It'd be difficult to throw him away but she continues to calculate all the risks and rewards to herself. The prince then reaches his hands out with a smile saying that they should get along now. She looks back at him before then looking down in silence. Her hand is extended, and she notes how it cannot be helped. She wonders if this encounter will end up being a win or a loss. The pair shake hands, noting how the other is very strange. The prince raises an arm to shield himself, already expecting another strike. The woman exclaims that she cannot believe His Highness would behave in such a mischievous manner. At times, he angers her so much that she feels the urge to hit him herself. He apologizes. She fixes him with a sharp glare and tells him that if he continues doing such things, then something bad is bound to happen to him. He stiffens, unsettled. She adds, in a firm tone, that it is a prophecy. He wakes with a sudden jolt, lifting his head from the desk. For a moment, he simply blinks, then exhales quietly. What a nostalgic dream. Later, Roland Noga, Yulia's older brother, looks at him with a frown and asks directly whether he has become acquainted with his sister. The prince replies she is a very interesting person. Roland immediately rejects that description. He states that the prince's evaluation is incorrect, his sister is both intelligent and beautiful. The prince then brings up her engagement to Ramon of House Curian and asks why is she engaged to him. Roland admits House Curian is after their family's wealth. They approached them with the proposal, and both he and their father strongly opposed it. However, Yulia insisted. She said that having a higher court rank would make it easier for her to conduct business. His voice softens slightly as he adds that if there is ever any issue with Ramon, he will annul the engagement immediately. The prince, in a neutral tone, mentions that now that he thinks about it, something happened yesterday in the rose garden. As he explains, Roland's expression changes completely. Rammer is having an affair. The prince says it appeared that Yulia was using a magical tool to record the situation. Roland leans forward, his tone turning sharp, and asks how his sister looked. The prince answers that she seemed lively and full of energy. She had a cunning expression though. Roland's hand tightens, and he looks angry. He mutters that he will kill Rammer, already gripping a paper knife. The prince quickly stops him, telling him there is no need for that. Yulia is clearly gathering evidence. There is no reason for him to act impulsively. Roland freezes, then suddenly loses all tension. He sinks to the floor, admitting that all he wants is for his sister to be happy. The prince observes that he truly cares for her. He adds that she is very beautiful. Roland immediately glares at him and warns that even if it is His Highness, he will not forgive him if he gets involved with his sister. The prince asks, then, why he allowed her to become engaged to Rammer in the first place. Roland looks proud and admits that once she makes a decision, she is extremely stubborn. Although that part of her is also cute, the prince gives him a blank look. In the dining hall, several girls invite Yulia to join them for lunch. She declines politely, saying she has research to attend to, though she means an errand. They seem surprised, but she simply moves to an empty table and sits with her meal. The surrounding chatter continues, light conversation about pastries on the main street and other small topics. After a while, two girls approach her. Yulia looks up and asks if they need something. They glance at her shoes and comment that this style has recently become popular in town. They add that it is surprising to see even nobility wearing them. Yulia asks if they approached her out of curiosity. One of the girls stiffens and apologizes, unsure if she has been rude. Yulia smiles and says the shoes are comfortable. The girls become relieved. Yulia then explains that the shoes are products from her store. Both girls are visibly surprised. She continues that while the shoes are currently only available in that color, they are considering expanding the range. That is enough to draw them in. The girls begin discussing among themselves, suggesting colors like dark blue, yellow, and moss green. Yulia listens and notes down their preferences. She then tells them that once new samples are prepared, she would appreciate hearing their opinions again. The girls brighten and ask if that means they will be the first to see the new designs. Yulia nods and says it would be helpful to have their input on the upcoming products. That went well. Yulia did think she would get ideas for new products from the student conversations in the commoner building. She has, however, been curious about these two for a while. Miss Renard, she's the daughter of a commoner winemaker. She's known for her knowledge of alcohol. Miss Grintier, she's the daughter of a commoner vice-captain who commands a trading vessel. She's known for her beauty. Getting information from these two about what merchandise is popular downtown, and furthermore about how her store is thriving, she will be able to make a huge profit. The prince approaches and tells Yulia that he has something he needs to discuss with her. The girls nearby immediately grow excited, their attention shifting entirely to him. Yulia, however, looks irritated. Even though she is spending time being productive right now. She would like to do more market research, she wants to ignore him. She doesn't want to go. Unfortunately, the other person is His Highness. For a moment, her sense of decency tells her to comply. But that thought is quickly overshadowed by her desire to keep working. So, with a perfectly sweet smile, she tells him that she is currently in the middle of an important conversation and asks if it would be possible to speak later. He refuses and tells her it has to be now and adds that she should bring the prophetic writings with her. Once they are alone, he asks if she truly did not know. Yulia asks what he is referring to. He explains that earlier, before noon, a woman named Banek collided with him in the corridor. Yulia says just as expected. She explains, almost casually, that in the writings, there is a scene where the protagonist is about to fall, and the prince catches her. That is how their first meeting happens. The prince says just as he suspected, she knew. Then why did she say nothing? Yulia smiles, a hint of teasing in it, and points out that His Highness did not truly believe in the prophetic writings until now. Then, she asks if she can assume that he believes them now. He does not answer and gulps, the reaction subtle but telling. Yulia lets out a soft laugh. She remarks that this is becoming rather interesting. He narrows his eyes slightly and asks if that is her real intention. Yulia does not deny it. She answers plainly that something being interesting is a good thing, isn't it? They enter his study. Roland is already there. Yulia walks in and places the volumes down, and tells them that the first meeting between the protagonist and the prince is described in the second volume. Roland looks completely lost. The prince, on the other hand, flips through the pages with visible tension before finally asking if the prince in the story is meant to be him. The mere idea unsettles him. Yulia dismisses his concern with ease, saying there is no need to be so alarmed. The protagonist does nothing particularly alarming in that scene. She only flirts. Roland's head snaps toward her, his expression turning to shock. Flirt? Yulia says yes, flirts. Meanwhile, the prince reads the protagonist and the prince's coincidental meeting in the corridor. The prince becomes interested in the protagonist. A few days later, in the rose garden where the prince is enjoying his nap by the gazebo, the protagonist comes. The two become friends later on. He shuts the book and shakes his head in disbelief. He wouldn't take a nap in such a conspicuous place. Yulia beams at him, clearly pleased, and mentions that she adjusted that particular scene so it would feel more romantic. Roland, who has been listening to this entire exchange without context, finally speaks up, asking what exactly the two of them are talking about. Ignoring that, the prince asks Yulia if Roland also appears in the story. Roland glances at him, still completely unaware of what is going on. Yulia smiles, a hint of pride slipping through, and replies that of course he does. After all, her brother is a sincere person with a beautiful presence, how could he not be included? Roland doesn't understand a word of it, but he seems quietly pleased anyway. The prince presses further and asks when Roland is supposed to appear. Yulia answers that he shows up in the latter half of the volume and very casually adds that he ends up breaking the protagonist's flag. There is no romantic development tied to him. The prince narrows his eyes slightly and asks if she is giving Roland special treatment. Yulia looks away, avoiding his gaze, and denies it. There is no such thing. Then, changing the subject entirely, Yulia asks Roland if he has seen a lady near the water fountain recently. Roland thinks for a moment and recalls that a few days ago, there was a woman there, idly playing with the water. When he questioned her, she had simply said she was cooling herself down, she wasn't used to wearing such thick dresses and found it warm. She seemed like a strange young lady. He cannot quite remember her face. Yulia says it is a good thing he did not continue the conversation. Roland asks if she is implying that it would be better not to get involved with such people. She answers yes. At that, the prince lowers his gaze and says she gave warning to Roland, but when it comes to him, she wouldn't tell him anything. Yulia admits it's because in the story, His Highness and Ramar are love rivals. He freezes, his eyes widening in shock. Yulia, meanwhile, adds that she thought it would make things more interesting. That is enough for him. He immediately asks her, no, insists that she stop the publication of the book right now. He demands to know who is even writing this. Roland and he are spitting images of themselves, it's unsettling. Yulia answers without hesitation. Of course they resemble them. The author is Matilda. The prince's voice turns shaky as he asks if she means his former wet nurse. Yulia confirms it. He stands abruptly, almost shouting in disbelief. How could she possibly be involved in something like this? He explains, agitated now, that Matilda's clan carries the blood of banshees, ancient beings said to have lived long ago on a distant island. It is said that their crying voices are able to tell people far from home about death in their family. Looking curious, Yulia replies that it is true, are not the fairies that are able to tell when their master die. The prince replies that's because banshees are capable of prophecy. Using that power on this book would make it into genuine prophetic writing that could change destiny. While he grows increasingly alarmed, Yulia seems more intrigued by the idea that there are people who still carry the blood of fairies. That's why Matilda is eternally beautiful. He, on the other hand, is done entertaining this. He declares that he will put a stop to Matilda's writing immediately. Yulia refuses. The reason? This book is currently the #1 bestseller. He stares at her, stunned, and asks if money is truly that important. She answers without hesitation, yes. He lowers his head, his hand tightening into a fist, then asks in a strained voice how much he would need to pay to have himself removed from the story entirely. For a brief moment, her eyes light up at the mention of money, then she pauses. Her expression shifts as she considers it more seriously, and she quickly retracts the thought. No, removing His Highness from the story would severely impact sales. It is not an option. Still trying to reason with the situation, he suggests that perhaps the heroine would be more appealing if she rejected someone of his status and chose Rama instead. It might make her seem less influenced by authority. Roland, watching from the side, quietly points out that she is no longer listening. And indeed Yulia is pacing, murmuring to herself, completely absorbed in her own thoughts. Then suddenly, she stops. An idea strikes. She turns to him with a bright expression and announces that she understands. She will inform Matilda that His Highness wishes to become a fake capture target. He can't quite tell if this is meant to help him, what will happen to him from now on. While the prince remains absorbed in flipping through the volumes, Roland quietly prepares tea and serves it to them. Yulia glances at him and remarks that she would have made it herself if he had asked. Roland shakes his head. It is his responsibility, but more importantly, he would like an explanation. What exactly is that thing the prince is reading so seriously? Yulia answers simply, it is a set of prophetic writings. Roland repeats prophetic writings. What does that even mean? She explains that there is a girl who behaves exactly like the one described in those writings, conquering men. Roland pauses, then asks if she means the same woman he saw near the fountain. Yulia replies yes and adds, with mild approval, that he is quick to understand. He thinks it over, then asks if that means the woman was playing at the fountain on purpose, waiting for someone like him to speak to her. Yulia tells him not to worry. As long as he does not engage with her, nothing will happen. Most likely, she adds, the girl will begin gathering evidence to claim that she is being bullied by her. Because Miss Banach believes herself to be the protagonist of the prophetic writings and has cast Yulia as the villain. According to the story, the villain bullies the heroine, is later exposed, publicly denounced, and ultimately loses her standing within the academy, becoming isolated. Roland's expression tightens with concern as he looks at his sister. Yulia reaches out and lightly smooths his hand, reassuring him. He knows her well enough, doesn't he? Bullying offers her no gain and no money. It is not something she would waste time on. She says if anything, once she proves she has done nothing wrong, she will simply be seen as a tragic heroine instead. The prince mutters under his breath she is a very black-hearted tragic heroine. Yulia immediately shoots him a look. Roland, choosing not to comment on that, says that if she intends to counter this properly, she will need allies. Yulia agrees. She explains that she is already doing so, surrounding herself with commoners who can serve as witnesses to her behavior. At the same time, she is involving them in her product development. He says it's two birds with one stone, he will also help her gather evidence. The prince glances between the two of them, a little uneasy, and admits that he is relieved they are not his enemies. A week later, in the cafeteria, Yulia lays out several samples in the colors the girls had previously suggested. Miss Renard immediately recognizes the shade she wanted and expresses her desire to purchase the shoes. The small commotion draws attention, and more girls gather around. Yulia watches quietly, a smug, satisfied look on her face. These will sell. She then introduces a new skirt design they are planning to produce and asks for their opinions. The response is immediate, The girls call it beautiful and begin imagining how it would look on them, exchanging excited comments. Then a scream cuts through the noise of the cafeteria. Yulia's attention shifts at once. Julie has fallen forward onto the floor and is quickly helped up by Rammer. Tears well in Julie's eyes as she insists she is fine, but he pulls her into a tight embrace, fussing over her. Then his expression hardens as he looks toward Yulia. He demands to know what she did. Yulia stands still, slightly caught off guard, and states plainly that she did nothing. It is rare for nobles to even come to this side of the cafeteria, so she had not been paying particular attention. Julie trembles and says that she simply tripped on her own, but then she glances at Yulia and begins trembling more noticeably. Rammer soothes her as if she were a child, assuring her she must have been frightened. Then he turns back to Yulia, clearly disappointed, accusing her of being a foul woman. Yulia asks, calmly, what he means. He claims she must have tripped Julie out of jealousy because she lost him to her. Yulia looks at him without expression and asks if he has any proof. He replies that the fact Julie fell right in front of her is proof enough. Yulia turns to the others present and asks if anyone saw her move her foot. All of them shake their heads. She points out that there is no evidence, and more importantly, Julie herself stated that she fell on her own. Is he choosing not to believe her? He insists that Julie only said that to avoid worrying him. Yulia asks, then, if he is calling Miss Banach a liar. He immediately denies it. In that case, Yulia replies, he should simply believe Julie's own words, that she tripped by herself. At that moment, Miss Renard steps forward, looking concerned. Yulia turns to them without hesitation, resuming the discussion as if nothing happened. Rammer watches, clearly frustrated, while Julie remains tense beside him. During the holiday, Yulia prepares to leave for her store in town. The butler offers to call a carriage, but she declines. She prefers to walk and observe the town at her own pace. As she arrives near her shop, she comes across Renard and Grintier. They greet her formally as Miss Noga, but she quickly tells them to call her Yulia instead. She expresses her happiness at seeing them and asks if something is wrong. Renard hesitates before admitting that if things continue like this, something unpleasant might happen to her. Yulia follows her gaze and notices Julie in her shop. Then she turns back with a gentle smile and asks if they have some time, would they like to see the new products at the back of the workshop. Renard immediately agrees, while Grintier asks if it truly would not be an inconvenience. Yulia reassures them. In fact, the new color variations of the shoes are being placed on shelves today. As thanks for their help, she offers them a secret discount. That is more than enough to lift the mood. The girls brighten and laugh softly as they follow her. Yulia begins leading them toward the workshop when suddenly, someone notices her and rushes out, calling for her loudly. It is Major. He complains that she arrived without informing him. Yulia replies calmly that he appeared busy. He calls out to her again in an overly emotional tone, then suddenly clings to her, speaking rapidly. A customer accused his kind, beautiful, beloved lady of being violent. Then he pulls back, eyes shining with an entirely different kind of excitement, and offers himself instead. If she must strike someone, she can strike him. Yulia immediately refuses, calling him an extreme masochist. He collapses dramatically to the ground, nearly in tears, lamenting that she never strikes him seriously. If it is her, he would gladly be hit, kicked, and even stepped on with her stiletto heel. Yulia cuts him off at once, telling him to stop saying such things in front of the store. This unfortunate individual is Major, the only son of Matilda, former wet nurse to the prince, and he happens to carry the blood of banshees. Ignoring this masochistic side he shows exclusively to her, he is pleasant, hard-working, and handsome, so there are many customers who come just to see him. Since he is Matilda's son, his beauty will never fade, so perhaps he could work here forever and make her money. She reaches up and grabs his face, squishing his cheeks. That only makes things worse. His eyes light up again, practically shining, as he eagerly declares that he does not even need a bonus. If she would simply step on him with her heels, that would be more than enough. Yulia glares at him, though a faint flush creeps onto her face. She wonders what should she do. She mutters he doesn't even hesitate, what a degenerate. Her gaze lands on His Highness. She calls out to him but he does not respond. His attention is fixed on the boy next to her, his expression completely still. In that moment Julie appears and the girl lights up the moment she spots the prince and calls out to him with bright enthusiasm. Yulia had almost forgotten about her. The prince finally reacts, visibly startled when he notices Yulia standing there as well. No one moves. Yulia exhales quietly to herself. This is about to become troublesome. Julie longed to be a noble ever since she was a small child. The dazzling lights, the ruffled dresses, the gorgeous daily life, so pretty that a commoner girl could fall in love with a noble boy. She would read Doki Doki. Even if she becomes a noble, she will do her best repeatedly and reimagine it with herself as the protagonist. Then one day, it was revealed that she was the secret child of Count Ban Ake, and it was decided that she would be taken in by the Count. This was just like the setting of the book. These books were about her. She is the protagonist who rises from being a commoner. There were other characters like the villainous daughter Yulia, the villainous daughter's fiancé Rammer, and the villainous daughter's older brother Roland, and her favorite, the prince. Mage clasps his hands together, practically trembling as he pleads with Yulia to step on him. The prince immediately cuts in, telling him to stop, he is only embarrassing himself. Then, as if remembering himself, he looks at him properly and greets him, noting that it has been a while. The prince asks him since when he became such a pervert. Major actually pauses to think about it before answering that it was probably around the time he started working here. He adds that there is no need to worry, he only wants Yulia to step on him. The prince slowly turns to Yulia and asks what exactly she did to his foster brother. Yulia tilts her head, looking entirely innocent, and replies that she did nothing. She simply offered him a position at her store. That only encourages Major further. He swoons dramatically and explains that at the time, he was being harshly scolded by a superior at the castle over his failures, and then she appeared. She told them that if he was so useless, they might as well hand him over to her. Major sighs dreamily, saying that the way she said it was so impressive, that from that moment on, he has wanted her to step on him. Yulia stares at him, genuinely taken aback. The prince says in that case, it is likely not her fault. He will apologize on his behalf. Major, already over it, asks why he came to the store. The prince answers that he came to visit his mother. Major points upstairs, explaining that she is on the second floor, that is where they live. The prince glances upward and then suddenly freezes. Julie has just bumped into him from the side. She immediately begins apologizing in a flustered tone, claiming it was an accident. The prince, however, instinctively steps back, looking noticeably uneasy. Before he can get away, she grabs his arm, asking anxiously if he is hurt. He quickly says he is fine, clearly trying to disengage, but she insists on getting him tea as an apology. Yulia watches the entire exchange in silence. After that kind of body slam, the concern feels too much. Even Renard and Grintier look confused. Yulia, deciding not to get involved, turns back to the girls and smoothly redirects the conversation. She mentions that she has also created a matching hat set for the shoes and asks if they would like to try them. Their attention shifts immediately. They nod, excited again. Yulia begins leading them inside, but the prince suddenly raises his hand and announces that he will cover the cost for the young ladies. Yulia glances back at him, mildly surprised. Oh, really? He steps closer, as if committing to the decision. Meanwhile, Yulia turns to Julie and asks if she has come to shop as well. She even picks out a dress and suggests it would suit her. Julie stiffens, then clasps her hands and asks if Yulia is implying she would look good in commoner's clothing. Yulia replies calmly that she does not believe status determines whether something suits a person. Julie lifts her chin and states that while she may have once been a commoner, she is now a noble and she has no intention of wearing such clothing. Yulia nods lightly and suggests, in that case, perhaps she came for hats, shoes, or even a handkerchief. Julie suddenly starts crying, accusing her of insulting her and insisting she would never purchase anything from a store meant for commoners. Yulia pauses, then remembers there was a scene like this in the prophetic writings. The villain confronts the heroine in front of a shop. Yulia calmly tells her to wipe her tears, and at that exact moment, Mr. Orga appears. Without hesitation, he hands Julie a handkerchief, which she immediately uses. Then, in one smooth motion, he takes control of the situation. He states that the store operates under the belief that anyone can enjoy fashion, regardless of status. If she does not wish to shop there, she is free to leave, and then he quite literally escorts her out. Before closing the door, he adds one final point: everything Lady Yulia is wearing, from her hair accessories to her shoes, is a product of this very store. By insulting her, Julie has also insulted the establishment. Therefore, she is no longer welcome. Is that understood? Julie, who had already claimed she would not buy anything, has no response. The door shuts in front of her. She is left outside, surrounded by onlookers whispering among themselves. Inside, Yulia claps lightly, clearly impressed, and praises Mr. Orga for handling the situation so well. He replies that receiving her praise brings him unfathomable joy. Then he turns to Mage and calls him over, stating that he will step on him very hard. Mage panics instantly and offers to the girls and offers to show them the skirts instead. Yulia watches this and notes to herself that Mr. Orga is perhaps the only person capable of controlling him. She then looks toward the prince. He notices and asks what it is. She reminds him that she has not forgotten his promise to pay for everything. He says he is aware. The girls nearby blush at the situation. Then, leaning in from both sides, they whisper to Yulia that she should give up on Ramar and choose His Highness instead. Yulia replies calmly that she is merely a count's daughter, the difference in status is too great. The girls immediately protest. The prince, confused, looks at them and asks what the issue is. He is still paying, isn't he? Yulia picks up an item and sweetly tells him she will get this one for herself. He questions why she needs to choose when it is her own store. She clicks her tongue. He startles slightly and asks if she could at least try not to do that. She tells him not to worry about it. He insists that he will worry. Then she smiles at him, soft and charming, and asks if they are not friends. He exhales, already regretting something. Yulia brightens and announces that since His Highness and more importantly, his wallet is present, they are free to choose as much as they like. He immediately tells her not to refer to him like that, but before he can continue, she changes the topic and suggests he should visit Matilda now. He agrees. She leads him upstairs. When the door opens, Matilda greets them, looking completely worn out. She remarks that they have an unusual guest. The prince, staring at her, replies that her appearance is equally unusual. She dismisses it, saying she has no time to worry about appearances with deadlines approaching, and asks Yulia to review the completed sections. Yulia agrees. The prince looks around the room, overwhelmed by the sheer number of books and scattered papers. This place is excessive. Yulia quietly hands him a stack of pages. He begins reading. The scene describes Romer, declaring that his love is greater than the prince's while the prince insists the opposite. The heroine stands between them, conflicted. Then, in a noble tone, the prince tells her he will not force her, she must choose for herself. She realizes he understands her pain and ultimately runs into his arms, deciding that he is the one who will make her happy. The prince in the story looks relieved and victorious. The real prince, however, stares at the page in complete terror. Matilda looks at the prince and asks how it is. Then she adds that it does not seem like something a prince should be reading. His hands tremble slightly as he asks her to change the ending immediately. She looks confused, so he explains everything. But instead of reacting to him, she becomes irritated at Ramar. She calls him a fool and says he is disrespecting her lady. At first, she had only made him look bad in the story, but now she considers making it worse, perhaps even ruining him completely. Yulia stops her. She tells her that is not necessary. Instead, she should change the ending so that the protagonist chooses the Marquis. Matilda questions if that would disrupt the story, but Yulia says it will not. Miss Banach already believes everyone will fall for her, and Ramar clearly does. They suit each other. It is better to let them end up together. Matilda pauses, then agrees. She snaps her fingers. The pages in the prince's hands begin to change. He watches in silence as the writing rewrites itself. A secret art that only a handful of people in this country could use. Matilda could use it because of the fairy blood she carried. Matilda then adds that she also wants the prince to be happy. Yulia immediately says she has a bad feeling about that. Matilda, however, looks pleased and says not to worry. Then she suggests that the much-hated villainous daughter should fall in love with the prince. Yulia says that does not sound very realistic. Matilda replies that she will make it work. More importantly, she wants both of them to be happy. Yulia glances at the prince and says it seems the story will change again. Once Matilda decides something, no one can stop her. The prince asks if she is fine with this. Yulia replies that she does not care. She is not like the villain in the story. More than anything, she will decide her own future. He grows quiet. Then a thought crosses his mind. In the story, he and Yulia will end up together. He remembers something and stiffens slightly, wondering if this is also due to Matilda's magic. Yulia sighs, already sounding tired, and says it's better if they don't bother her right now. The prince is clearly out of it, thinking she will stay with him. Then she turns to him, sharp and unimpressed, asking if he's even listening. She points out that his face is red too. His voice comes out rushed, a little flustered, saying she's just imagining things. When she asks if something's wrong, he quickly brushes it off. Matilda lets out a small laugh when Yulia says her shop sells tea that works really well for sickness. She'll even give it to him cheap. He immediately asks what's with that. It sounds shady. She ignores him and turns away again, thinking. No, she really needs to make sure those two get along somehow. What a strange thing. Before meeting Lady Yulia and before she became a writer, 20 years ago, she was just an ordinary commoner girl living in town. Banshees are fairies that are said to be able to predict their master's death. It is believed that allowing a banshee into their home and allowing it to raise their child will bring them good fortune. The king knew about that legend, so when the princess's marriage was decided, the great-grandmother hired her a banshee to be their maid. She came to love the princess as her own daughter. After a few years, the princess became the queen of this country. As she walked down the hallway, a man suddenly stepped in front of her. By the time she turned, he was already on his knees. He confessed that he had fallen in love with her at first sight. Before she could even react, he took her hand and pressed a kiss to it, begging her to marry him. Matilda stared at him for a second, then yanked her hand back and smacked him on the head. Later, sitting before the queen, she was lost in thought. The queen noticed immediately and asked what was wrong. Matilda admitted, a bit flatly, that she had just been proposed to. That was enough to light the queen up. She was delighted and congratulated her and asked who the man was. She even said she wanted to meet him. Matilda shut it down just as quickly, saying she had no intention of accepting. The queen asked what was the problem. Did he not suit her taste? Matilda shook her head. That wasn't it. She was 45. The queen waved it off, saying age differences didn't matter that much, then asked if Matilda had told him about herself. Matilda said yes, she had explained everything so she could reject him properly. But instead, when she told him, he got even more excited. He grabbed her hand again, eyes practically shining, saying that so she had fairy blood, that must be the reason for her strange charm. The more he spoke, the more enchanted he seemed. He said he wanted someone like her as his wife, by his side. And then he asked her to hit him again. The queen burst out laughing at that. She called him interesting, said someone with that kind of puppy-like personality might actually suit Matilda. Matilda didn't say anything at first, but thinking back on it, she had to admit he was kind of cute. That night, she had a dream. She was holding two boys. The next day, he showed up again, still asking her to marry him like nothing had happened. The rejection hadn't discouraged him in the slightest. And somehow she ended up marrying him. One day, Matilda casually mentioned to the queen that she would become pregnant soon. That was just how her initiation worked. The queen was overjoyed. Then she asked if Matilda was pregnant now as well. If so, she wanted her to become her son's wet nurse. Matilda agreed. She was happy, her husband was madly in love with her. Between Major and the prince, it was like she had gained two sons. Major was energetic and lively, and even if something bad were to happen, he would laugh it off. He was a bright child. The prince was someone who could do anything better than the average person, a true prodigy. Despite the difference in status, the two of them became as close as real siblings. Although the two of them caused her trouble with their pranks, and even though she said that when it came to the prince, it was mostly because he was going along with Major. Started to expect that Major would become the prince's aide. Major himself started to feel that he needed to protect the prince. He also acquired the necessary skills for an aide. One day, she noticed Major had a cut on his face. Her expression changed instantly. She stepped closer and asked what had happened. He brushed it off with an easy smile, saying he had just fallen during horse riding training. Matilda didn't look convinced. The worry on her face only deepened as she asked if he actually found that kind of training fun. For a moment, he went quiet. Then, just as quickly, he smiled again and said lightly that when it comes to training, it's all troublesome anyway, isn't it? She saw it in a dream. Major was being hit and kicked by his senior aides because they thought he was being conceited. It couldn't be real. Major did not say that he wanted someone to rescue him. He was convinced that the only way to protect the prince was for him to become a splendid aide. Mage thought he would be happy like that. But it didn't end there. Mage was bullied again by the older boys. This time, though, someone stepped in. A girl. She looked almost unreal, like something out of a dream, and without hesitation, she reached out a hand to him. Not long after, Mage stood in front of his mother. He said he wanted to stop being the prince's aide. He still loved the prince, but he had found someone he truly wanted to be useful to. Matilda's eyes filled before she could stop it. She pulled him into a tight hug. When they told his father, the prime minister was visibly shaken. Mage explained everything, and in the end, it was decided, he would leave the royal palace. Since he was still a child, Matilda chose to go with him. Her husband, however, couldn't leave. His duties tied him to the palace. But Matilda had already seen it. In a dream. That girl wasn't just Mage's goddess. She felt like one to Matilda as well. Before leaving, she faced her husband and asked him to forgive her for choosing to leave the palace for the sake of their son. He let out a breath, almost relieved, and asked if she meant living separately. Then he took her hands, holding them firmly, and told her to go. To stay by their son's side. To take care of him for him, too. And just like that, they left the royal palace to meet the girl. Her name was Yulia Noga. Beautiful. Intelligent. And with the kind of outstanding business skills that would leave anyone astonished. Yulia asked Matilda if she used to be His Highness's wet nurse. Then she pointed out that if someone like her stayed in a shop, ambitious nobles would naturally start showing up. She asked what kind of work was she looking for. When she thought about it, she remembered talking with Mage about Matilda bedtime stories. When she heard them, it had the opposite effect. She wasn't able to fall asleep because of how interesting they were. In that case, instead of bedtime stories about them, they published stories that seem like it will sell. She cannot help but think so. To see if it was possible for Matilda, she picked up a pen just like Lady Yulia told her to. When she wrote a love story that women might like, Lady Yulia became extremely happy. The main character was her ideal person, a cute person who receives love from anyone and tries her hardest. And even though she's clumsy and makes a lot of mistakes, she looks ahead and pushes forward. She makes sure to grab her own happiness. However, lately, it has gone beyond her expectations as an author. Although it was interesting when she reported it to Lady Yulia, the protagonist doesn't choose the character that she modeled after her son, Mage, but instead wavers between the characters that she modeled after the prince and Rammer. She was annoyed. What did that even mean? Wasn't that stupid, even though she's the one who wrote that? Anyone that met the prince could see that he was a good man, so it couldn't be helped. She did put the prince and main character together in the end, but the prince then pleaded with her to change the ending. So she decided to make the main character a woman who was going to drop the prince with the power of the bench. It would become like a prophecy and might affect real life. More than anything, the prince who is like her own son asked her to. Besides, if she writes about a romance between the prince and Lady Yulia, it might become real. When the prince and Yulia come down the stairs, Lady Renard and Lady Grintier have already changed. In the end, Renard chooses blue shoes, a sky-colored one-piece, gloves, and a corsage. Lady Grintier goes with moss-green shoes, a wine-red top, and a long moss-green skirt. The bill is handed over. He nods at first, yes, barely paying attention, but then his eyes widen. How is it this cheap? Yulia looks proud and says that's the whole point, good products that are both cute and affordable. That's the strength of their store. He smiles, clearly impressed, and pats her head, saying she saved him. Thank you. She pauses. Their eyes meet and then she suddenly pulls back, blurting out that she just remembered she has an errand to run, before turning and rushing off. He stays there, confused. Yulia has to report this to Matilda as soon as possible. Because she was about to go BA dump. If it were any other woman, it wouldn't just be BA dump, BA dump. It would definitely be BA dump, boom. Matilda high-fives her, saying she'll gladly use that in a chapter. Then Mage comes in, having heard everything. He asks, a little more serious than usual, if it's possible for him and Yulia to have a relationship in the story. Matilda pauses. If she borrows Lady Yulia's words and style, will it sell better? But more than that, is it alright to write something for his happiness? In the end, she decides she will have to discuss it with Lady Yulia first. At the high school courtyard, Roland stands there looking unusually serious. He says she has already explained everything to him, so from now on, he will help her record the infidelity as well. She pauses in the middle of setting up the recording device and glances at him. Even if he says that he's a busy person, will he really be alright? Roland answers without hesitation. For the sake of his beloved sister, no matter what else he has to do, she comes first. Then his tone turns a little possessive. He adds that she would be alone with His Highness during the recording, wouldn't she? If a man and woman are alone together like that, he can't just overlook it. She lets out a small, amused oh my and says His Highness isn't the kind of person who would harm her. Roland admits that's true. She then glances toward the prince and adds, almost casually, that besides, in his current condition, would His Highness even be able to do anything? The prince sits there, looking completely gloomy. Roland notices and asks if something happened. She explains that the other day, His Highness begged Matilda to change the ending of Doki Doki, and when they look at the rewritten draft, it turns into something like this. It's a popular story about a commoner girl trying her best even after becoming a noble. Written by Matilda, the former wet nurse of the prince. Originally, the plan is for the protagonist to end up with the character modeled after the Prince Radonic. But then Ms. Banach appears, chasing after the protagonist to capture His Highness, her brother, and even her foolish fiancé. And after listening to the prince's desperate plea, Matilda changes the direction entirely. Now, the protagonist ends up with the Marquis's son, modeled after Rammer. And the prince? He becomes involved with the villain, her. In the story, the prince approaches a quiet gazebo, mentioning it's where he usually takes his afternoon naps. She stands to leave, but he notices the tears in her eyes. He asks if she's crying. The prince remembers she is the former fiancée of that man that is intimate with his loved one. She was severely convicted in front of everyone and lost her place in the school, so that is why she is crying in this secret place. The next day, she's there again. He looks at her and thinks she resembles a crying doll. She sighs and tells him not to concern himself with her. But he keeps staring, realizing how gentle her voice is. He wants to hear it again. So the next day and the day after, he keeps calling out to her. One day, she asks him if he loves that girl too. He stiffens. She admits that every time he speaks to her, she's reminded of that girl and it hurts. So she wants him to leave her alone. But instead, he asks her something else. Does she realize it? Today is the longest he's ever been able to hear her voice. She frowns and asks if he realizes it. She's the one who hurt the girl he loves. He admits something in return. That he, too, once wanted that girl so badly he even thought about forcing the Marquis's son aside. Even fighting him. Love isn't always beautiful. There's another side to it. He gently touches her hair and tells her she isn't the only one like that. She freezes in shock. He pulls her into an embrace. She protests, saying she's fine and telling him to let go, but when she pulls back, there's a faint blush on her face. She says that thanks to his kindness, she's able to change. From now on, she won't force her selfish feelings onto others. She'll move forward. When she smiles, he finally understands. What he felt before wasn't love. It was just the selfish desire to possess, like a child clinging to a toy. But this, wanting to protect the girl in front of him, this is real. This is love. He holds her again, saying he wants to know more about her. She tells him she'll be fine, even alone. But if she ever feels like crying again, she hopes he'll forgive her for returning to that place. He admits that when he sees her strength, it makes him want to try harder too. If he's with her, it feels like he can overcome anything. Then he asks if she'll tell him more about herself. She hesitates, unsure if talking to him will help, but if she can be of use to His Highness, she'll do whatever he wishes. He hides his expression. Because deep down he wants that smile to belong only to him. The prince snaps the book shut with a sigh. Yulia looks at him and asks if he doesn't approve of this development either. Roland, standing nearby, gives him a sidelong glance. The prince says the prince in the story just looks heartless. When that opinion reaches Matilda, she gets annoyed. She argues that even if someone gets dumped, they wouldn't just fall in love with another person immediately. That's why His Highness misunderstood his feelings in the first place. What they need is a proper setup where he truly falls in love. Yulia admits she doesn't really understand that kind of thing, so she leaves it to Matilda. Though, the continuation does sound interesting. Matilda grins and tells her to leave everything to her. She'll make sure her lady ends up all lovey-dovey with His Highness. Yulia calmly adds that the sales should do well too, so they can all be happy. She doesn't think there will be any problem selling it. Roland just stares, dumbfounded, saying that even if it's only in a story, His Highness and the world's cutest Yulia becoming lovers. Isn't she bothered at all? The prince mutters that it makes no sense. Reading it again, the girl in the story doesn't resemble Yulia at all. Sure, she has occasional, cute moments, but Yulia herself is difficult. He can practically imagine her eyes sparkling with greed, muttering that it'll sell, followed by some villainous laugh. No matter how he looks at it, she's the villain. He thinks if Yulia had these kind of cute reactions, then suppose that she made a request, then no matter the enemies he would make, he would want to protect her. He would fall in love. The thought cuts off when she smacks him on the head and tells him to lower it more, or those two will notice them. They've finally come to their secret date, after all. Without wasting another second, she switches on the recording device. Roland suddenly speaks up, saying that now that he thinks about it, that girl actually tried to contact him. Yulia looks at him, a little surprised. Really? Was he alright? He nods, calm as ever. Since she recreated the second scene, the one where she meets the villain's brother, meaning him, he simply played along. Just as she wanted. The scene where she drops her papers everywhere and gets helped. Yulia grins, clearly entertained, and asks her brother what exactly he was thinking. Is this some kind of strategy? Making her believe everything is going according to her plan? Roland says since she's the one who declared war on the Noga household, she should be ready for what comes next. In the end, when things don't go the way she expects, he wonders what kind of expression she will make. The prince breaks into a cold sweat, intimidated by their schemes. Yulia turns to him next, her tone suddenly firm. She tells him not to imitate her brother and try something reckless like that. He immediately shakes his head. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. There's no way he would do something like that. But then, a bit more quietly, he asks, is it really that dangerous? She answers without hesitation. Yes. The manuscript he's holding hasn't been published yet. Right now, in the story, the prince is still in love with the protagonist. He stiffens. So in other words, if he makes even one mistake, it's over. She nods. He exhales shakily. This is a woman who doesn't hesitate to tackle him, on top of Matilda's strange prophecy influence. In that kind of situation, how is he supposed to avoid contact at all? Yulia suggests that maybe he should just keep a guard with him. Then she adds that she's always found it strange. Shouldn't someone like His Highness normally have plenty of guards around him? Even the other day, when he came to the shop alone, she was surprised on the inside. Roland answers for him. The truth is, His Highness ranks first in both magic and swordsmanship. There's simply no need for guards. Yulia's eyes light up at that, a spark of excitement showing. He's that strong. The prince lets out a small sigh. Still, the reason he got caught off guard before is because that girl had no killing intent. If she had, he would have sensed it immediately. Yulia's smile turns mischievous. If that's the case, would he like her to save him? He pauses. Right. Yulia is a strong and determined girl who could protect a guy like him. So he blurts out, how much would she want? As long as he pays for it, that is. Later, at lunchtime in the cafeteria, Yulia appears with a bright, beaming smile. She announces to everyone that she has finally completed a prototype of the skirt she showed them the other day. This time, she experimented with an advanced cloth material. Because of that, she would like them to try it on if possible, and she hopes they can share their impressions with her at a later time. Renard and Grintier look genuinely pleased and quickly promise to summarize their feedback in a proper report. The prince calls out to her, suggesting they should continue this later since everyone will run out of time to eat. He even says he will apologize to everyone on her behalf, explaining that if she loses track of her surroundings and causes trouble, unintentionally, they should clearly say no without hesitation. However, they immediately clarify that it is not a problem at all. At that moment, Yulia claps her hands suddenly, her expression lighting up as she has just remembered something important. With visible excitement, she says that during lunch she forgot to mention something else. She then pulls out cookies that look like bread and explains that although they resemble cookies, they are technically bread because they are dense in texture. They are extremely filling, and since they are small in size, she thought they would be easy for women to eat as well without difficulty. As the prince takes a bite, He comments that they are delicious. Roland explains that these are prototype rations that Yulia developed specifically for use in military expeditions. They are designed to last a long time while also giving a strong feeling of satisfaction and fullness. When the prince asks whether they have been officially accepted, Yulia's smile becomes extremely sweet as she calls out to him again. He flinches slightly and asks what it is this time. Still smiling sweetly, she reminds him that they made a promise, didn't they? The two of them. She then asks if he would please write a few lines of support as well. She recalls the previous incident, when she asked him if he would like her to save him and how he had responded by asking how much she wanted. At that moment, she blushed, which made him understand her intentions. She says she only meant for him to rewrite a recommendation letter. He had already sensed something was off back then. She reassures him that it will not cause him any trouble. He finds that difficult to believe, but she requests that he write a short statement confirming that the royal family has officially acknowledged the Noga household as diplomats. If they possess the authority of the royal family, then the house name of her fiancé will no longer be necessary, and they will be able to move forward with a strong advantage in sales and business negotiations. Her eyes shine brightly as she explains this plan, almost sparkling with dollar signs. She states that with this arrangement, they can import good products at lower costs and export them at higher prices. That is the only thing she wants. The prince clearly looks reluctant, but after a moment, he finally says he understands and agrees to make the promise. However, he warns her not to use it in any way that would create inconvenience for him. She immediately replies that of course she will not. She assures him that His Highness is an important friend, and now that he has become a cog in her business plan, she will take responsibility and protect him as well. He sighs in relief. But right after that, he realizes he just felt relieved at being described as a cog in her plan. Roland pats him on the back to comfort him. Then Yulia explains that Lady Banach is currently moving in accordance with the prophetic writings. Because of that, they can use the prophecy itself to reverse the situation and turn the tables. According to her, the key to this strategy is Roland. In the prophetic story, Roland's character has a strong desire for exclusivity. When the main character spends time with other men, he declares that he would not forgive her if she is with anyone except him. This creates complications and tension in the narrative. Therefore, if His Highness and Roland remain together at all times, Lady Banach will not have the opportunity to approach the prince. She then asks Roland to please sign the document. She reminds him that today, just as planned, the two of them have acted together and stayed side by side at all times. He says he understands and asks if he only needs to write that he approves of it. She confirms that yes, that is sufficient. She adds that she has prepared 10 different flavors and asks him to taste each one and write down his impressions. He looks at the large quantity in disbelief, asking if she expects him to take all of it home. She responds yes, she would like him to write his impressions as part of a report. He complains that this feels like homework and tells her not to simply hand it over like that. She clicks her tongue. He points out she clicked her tongue again. He turns to Roland and asks him to do something about his sister. However, he looks proud and says this was handmade by his sister and her cooking skill is reliable. He will want to immediately write down his impression. He doesn't think there are problems, though. Roland asks him what in the world is he satisfied about. The prince calls him a siscon. Yulia then pouts and says that if he does not want to eat them, he can return them. She will have another try them and listen to their opinions instead. That reaction causes him to pause. He softly remarks even she can make that kind of expression. She asks what he means by that. Roland admits that because she usually appears calm and composed, he did not expect her to show sulking. She huffs and responds she is human too. The prince smiles, clearly amused, and Roland also softens slightly, patting her head, though she immediately tells him not to treat her like a child. Even Renard and Grintier smile. Grintier says Yulia gives off a cool and beautiful impression, but she is actually very cute and sweet. Renard agrees and says she is indeed extremely cute. Yulia pouts again, saying even the girls are joining in now. The prince lets out a light laugh and says that Yulia making such an expression is truly cute. The moment feels harmless to him until Roland suddenly slams his hand and rises to his feet. He looms over the prince like a shadow, looking like a ghost. With a low voice, he reminds him that he has already said this before. Even if it is His Highness, he will not forgive him if he gets involved with Yulia. The prince quickly responds that this is the common opinion and tells him to calm down and suppress his killing intent. However, Roland does not budge in the slightest. Trying to defuse the tension, the prince urges him again to stop. But before the situation can escalate further, Yulia calmly sips her tea and tells him to stop. She states that she does not believe His Highness's original intention was to make her heart race with empty flattery. The prince looks visibly offended and repeats the word flattery, as if unable to accept the accusation. Meanwhile, Roland mutters under his breath, asking what she would do if those words were truly his real feelings. Yulia answers calmly, saying she is well aware that she does not possess a personality that everyone finds appealing like Roland does. With the exception of polite remarks or simple courtesy, she has never been called something like cute before. Everyone stares at her in stunned silence. Then, as if on cue, they all let out a collective sigh. She blinks and asks what that reaction was supposed to mean. In the distance, Julie is seen complaining, wondering why His Highness is standing together with Yulia's older brother. With that situation, she would not be able to approach him at all. Rammer notices her and asks why she is hesitating. Did she not say that she wanted to be introduced to His Highness today? She admits that is true, but worries it might become inconvenient or even turn into a quarrel. His eyes suddenly sparkle with confidence as he tells her to have faith. He declares that everything will be fine. After all, she is the world's cutest person. He even raises his hand dramatically and proclaims that their love is genuine and nothing about it should be embarrassing. However, she continues trembling and insists that they should try again another day. But it is already too late. He dashes forward and calls out to them. With complete confidence, he greets them and again questions why His Highness and Roland are sitting in a place that smells like commoners. He insists they should come with him and eat together, adding that there is someone he would like to introduce. The prince is completely shocked. He whispers in disbelief that Rammer actually approached them himself, standing there like a shining prince, waiting for approval. Yulia quietly reflects that this is strange. With Roland present, they were not supposed to approach so easily. Roland calmly gestures toward the distance and points out Julie, who is hiding behind a pillar in visible panic. It seems Rammer has behaved far beyond what she expected. Yulia sighs and says it is likely because he is a moron and she probably could not control him. Amused, her brother agrees and states that yes, he is a moron. They briefly wonder what their next move should be. Roland concludes that it cannot be helped. Rammer pouts and demands to know what they are whispering about. Roland turns toward him with a smooth, composed smile and explains that right now, they are discussing national defense matters and the country's armaments with His Highness. Perhaps it would be better to continue the conversation another day. The prince whispers, isn't that too exaggerated? Besides, there's no way he would have a conversation like that in a place like this. Roland says it is not like he's lying and besides, Rammer is a moron and he would believe it. However, Rammer is so stupid that he doesn't even understand a word and asks cluelessly what they are talking about. It is fine with His Highness, right? Both men bury their faces in their hands and sigh. He is way too stupid. Rammer then turns to Yulia and announces that he will borrow the two of them. She has no objections, correct? She responds immediately that she does object. Since His Highness and her brother are discussing national affairs, he should not interrupt them. Rammer grows irritated and snaps at her to shut up, accusing her of being a greedy woman who has no right to veto anything. Roland's expression darkens instantly. Before he can speak, the prince sharply calls out to him, reminding him that although Yulia may be his fiancée, she is also his friend, and he should be careful with his words. Rammer begins trembling and quickly apologizes. The prince then tells him to make it another time. Inside, while internally begging him not to ever come again. While Yulia thinks that the prince would get this angry for a friend like her. She thinks he is truly a good person. Then, to everyone's shock, Julie approaches their table and apologizes to the prince for bumping into him earlier. She says he did not know anything at the time and hopes he was not injured. She smiles warmly, her eyes twinkling brightly. The prince shudders and leans closer to Yulia, asking what is happening. Those lines do not belong in this scene. She replies it seems that because Rammer wouldn't be able to return so easily, she decided to make an appearance before his temper boiled over. If her goal is to force the story forward, then she will accept that challenge directly. And with that realization she steps fully into the moment, ready to continue the scene on her own terms. She introduces herself with bright confidence. Her name is Julie Van Eyck, and she declares that she absolutely loves pink accessories and donuts. Roland immediately glares at her, muttering under his breath that every single word in her speech directly comes from the 7th chapter of the prophetic writings. Yulia stands there, genuinely surprised that Julie dares to approach them to this extent. Further back, the prince is trembling. Julie asks softly if they are not interested in what she has said. She quickly apologizes, her voice gentle and uncertain. Then she turns her gaze toward the prince with exaggerated, sparkling puppy eyes. The effect is immediate. He looks completely horrified. Yulia exhales and concludes that it cannot be helped. She steps forward with authority and states clearly that His Highness is currently in the middle of something important. Does she not understand that this is not a place suitable for a self-introduction? Perhaps she should consider revisiting this conversation at a more appropriate time. At that, Julie's eyes fill with tears. She suddenly ducks behind Rammer, sniffling softly and repeats that she is sorry, she does not know anything. Rammer immediately snaps at Yulia, accusing her once again of bullying Julie. He declares that she truly is a woman with an ugly heart. Roland's eye twitches. He calls out to Rammer and firmly states that his sister is a noble lady, or no as a human-taught Lady Banake, who originally had no common sense, some common sense. He might not mind his way of speaking, but since she harbors no ill will, he asks him to be tolerant. Julie looks at him through teary eyes and says she was the one in the wrong. She insists that he should forgive Yulia. Then she is asked whether she has any further business. She says she still wants to talk with His Highness and Lord Roland a little more. The prince casts her a side glance and asks if she is telling him to give up his seat. Immediately, her expression falls. She grows even sadder and murmurs that she would never want to become a hindrance. He sighs deeply and finally relents. Yulia gives him a blank stare and calls him a weakling. However, Roland responds calmly that His Highness's inability to treat women harshly is actually a virtue. The prince suddenly snaps back, saying that is wrong. This is clearly because of Matilda's prophecy. Yulia turns back toward Julie and explains firmly that although His Highness is a kind person and cannot say harsh words such as "you are an eyesore, go away," that does not mean she is permitted to bother him any further than this. Julie begins crying again and apologizes repeatedly. Rammer points an accusatory finger at Yulia and demands whether she enjoys making Julie cry. Yulia responds that she only wants Julie to understand that she is being a bother while still treating her kindly. She asks if Lord Rammer does not realize that he should be the one with the ability to instruct his crying sweetheart. The one causing embarrassment to high society is herself. Neither Lord Rammer nor Miss Banake has any real intention of creating problems, after all. For her own sake as well, perhaps she should be taught something called common sense. At that statement, he recoils as though he has been struck directly. The prince then speaks again. In addition to everything else, since Julie seems to be the type of person who often falls down and bumps into things, she should take extra care. It would be wiser for her to be more mindful of her surroundings. Julie immediately protests that it is not intentional. She insists that she does not mean to cause trouble. He replies if that is the case, then she must simply be extremely inattentive. Perhaps she should walk along the edge of the street so that she does not become a burden to others. Yulia then speaks up. Since it appears that Julie bumps into His Highness frequently, she blurts out that it is merely a coincidence. A coincidence? Yulia repeats thoughtfully. To think that bumping into His Highness every single time is a coincidence, she wonders aloud whether it might be fate instead. Her eyes begin to sparkle brightly. She looks as though light is filling her expression. The prince turns toward Yulia and calls her name. However, Roland quietly presses a finger to his lips, signaling him to remain silent. At that moment, Julie suddenly brightens like the sun. She declares enthusiastically that His Highness and she are drawn to each other, and that Lord Roland and Raymond as well. It is all because she arranged their meeting exactly as in the story. Yulia realizes that Julie has contradicted herself. Julie then continues, saying that if she claims something like that is fate, then it must have also been fate when she met His Highness in the garden surrounded by blooming roses. That meeting must have been destiny as well, right? The prince looks startled for only a moment. Then, slowly, he smiles and says yes, he believes that encounter must have been fate. Immediately, whispers spread among the crowd. Rammer looks genuinely confused and asks what that was just now. Was it a poem? Just like he thought, Yulia truly is a strange woman, isn't she? Julie, however, stands there understanding the situation. After a moment, she simply turns around and begins walking away. Rammer calls after her desperately, pleading with her not to leave him behind. Yet she only wonders what just happened. She feels an inexplicable feeling, like she cannot remain in that place any longer. Roland asks what has just occurred. Yulia calmly explains that it was a sentence from the unpublished prophetic writings she showed him recently. It is a scene from the story where the prince, after opposing the fiancé of the main character, consoles another woman and ultimately becomes interested in her. She gives him a confident thumbs up and praises him for remembering it well. He responds that if it is only that, then it is the least he can do. Yulia remarks that it appears Matilda's power of prophecy has worked as intended. The prince wonders whether everything is truly fine the way it is. She then asks Roland whether he captured the way they behaved. He replies without hesitation that he recorded everything. In a public place, it clearly qualifies as slander and defamation. They can easily press charges. Roland adds that he feels so irritated that he wants to eliminate Lord Raymer immediately. However, since events are unfolding naturally anyway, they should aim to inflict maximum damage instead. He laughs. His sister laughs as well, her tone pure evil. For now, they decide to allow the two of them to run freely. Once again, the prince shudders. The prince then asks if, at this rate, it might become dangerous, especially for his physical well-being. She replies that she never expected Julie to ignore her brother's presence and approach him so boldly. She will implement additional countermeasures. Therefore, he should please try to relax. He does not appear relaxed in the slightest. In fact, he looks more frightened than anything else. Nevertheless, he nods and says yes. He then tells Roland that his sister is truly an amazing woman. Roland agrees that she is indeed extraordinary. However, he warns that he should not fall for her. Meanwhile, the girls begin discussing how both His Highness and Lady Yulia have said it was fate. Several days later, a grand ball takes place at the royal palace. Yulia arrives dressed in a beautiful gown and approaches her father with a radiant smile. Her father looks equally delighted to see her. He apologizes for not being able to return home often due to his responsibilities. She replies that she is fully aware of how busy he is. She understands it completely. She says she wants to one day become like her father, traveling across various countries and conducting business and trade with confidence. It is her goal to follow in his footsteps. Her father laughs warmly and says that is exactly what he expects from someone of the Noga household. Then he remarks that it is rare for her to attend a ball held at this time of year. She replies calmly that she has something she absolutely wants to accomplish. He smiles knowingly and asks if that means she attended this ball because she knows he will be present. Before she can answer, a voice speaks. It has been a while. It is the Prime Minister. He smiles politely as he approaches and then glances at Yulia, saying that she has come together with her father. She offers a courteous bow and greets him properly. The Prime Minister comments that Lady Yulia becomes more beautiful each time they meet. He then mentions that he has recently heard she has grown close to His Highness, Radonic. She smiles and replies that she has had the fortune of becoming friends. The Prime Minister does not look pleased and adds that everyone in the Noga family is ambitious. He wonders if she has any ulterior motives in approaching the prince. He does not suppose she intends to sever her friendly relations with His Highness. For a brief moment, she stiffens. Then, suddenly, she switches expressions and begins to cry dramatically. She claims that even though she has a fiancé, he is accusing her of infidelity. How cruel it is to doubt her in such a way. The Prime Minister mutters that those are cheap tears. Does she truly believe he would be deceived by fake crying? Her eyes immediately harden again. Then she smiles politely, a sweet smile that leaves the Prime Minister slightly startled. Just then, the prince arrives and calls out to her. He warns her that that woman has appeared. However, she does not move. She calmly replies that she is aware. Right now, she is in the middle of revealing her true character to the Prime Minister, so she does not care about anything else. How about he just makes sure that he doesn't end up alone with that girl? The prince reminds her in a low voice, mentioning the report he wrote earlier. She clicks her tongue again, which only irritates him further. She replies that she made sure only His Highness could hear it. Then she steps forward and politely tells the Prime Minister not to worry. She has no intention of seducing the prince in any way. She attended this ball specifically to explain that directly to His Excellency. The Prime Minister narrows his eyes slightly and asks if her plan from the beginning was to speak with him. She answers clearly, yes. Her father looks somewhat gloomy, realizing that she had intended to speak with the Prime Minister rather than him. She then surprises him by stating that she is cancelling her engagement with Lord Raymer. Therefore, she requests the engagement contract document. Her father asks what is happening. She was the one who had desired that position so strongly. She replies calmly that Lord Raymer has already declared he will not marry her. Additionally, His Highness has cooperated with her regarding her merchandise. Her father comments so she is going to make Raymer sign without the Marquis knowledge, and she responds with an evil giggle. Yes, she also intends to collect substantial consolation money. Father and daughter begin evilly laughing together. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister advises His Highness that he should choose his friends more carefully. The prince responds that he understands. He does not wish to have any regrets. However, he cannot deny her skill in protecting him from that strange woman. The Prime Minister asks what strange woman he means. The prince replies immediately, it is her. There, standing at the doorway, is the woman in question, staring at him with wide, glowing, love-filled eyes. Even the Prime Minister appears scared. The prince trembles slightly and declares that the woman attacked him, she tackled him without restraint. The Prime Minister requests further details and decides they should move to his office to discuss the matter privately. In his office, he carefully reviews the book. He asks if it is a love story intended for young adult women. She corrects him, it is the prophetic writings. From what he understands, the woman from earlier appears to have fallen for the prince and is attempting to reenact the story. He flinches when he reads, the author is Matilda. He tensely says if it is the case of her banshee power working, then if they follow the story, that woman earlier will marry the prince and become queen. But she says no, she wouldn't become queen. In this story the main character chooses the Marquis' eldest son. And if they compare it to reality, it would be Lord Raymer. Her father has already read everything. After finishing the book, he closes it. Then he asks if the lady modeled after his daughter, Yulia, will not appear again after this point. The surrounding elders immediately request the continuation of the story. However, she calmly explains that the continuation has not been released yet. The prince then remarks if that is the case, she must possess the original draft. She glares at him sharply and replies that the original manuscript is kept at home. Although the villain in the story was modeled after her, she firmly states that they are nothing alike. At the very least, the story has no effect on her in reality. Matilda's magical abilities and the prophetic writings, she explains, only work on those who believe in them as absolute truth. After all, if the prophetic writings were truly powerful in real life, then according to the story she herself should be bullying Miss Banake. That clearly does not happen. Her father then looks at her with a slightly saddened expression. He tells her that he has never intended to arrange her marriage purely for political gain in order to strengthen their household. Even if she doesn't have a title. If she has her skills, then she will still succeed. She responds confidently that of course she will. Moreover, she does not wish to become a queen. She does not want to be confined inside a castle, unable to travel abroad or purchase goods freely in foreign countries. And above all, she does not want to be pressured to produce an heir. In her opinion, being a queen sounds like a boring occupation. Her blunt statement shocks both her father and the Prime Minister. The prince, in contrast, becomes completely silent. The Prime Minister then remarks that she might unexpectedly be a good friend to have. She smiles brightly and thanks him, expressing gratitude for his recognition. To think that the Prime Minister would consider her a friend is truly an honor. However, he quickly clarifies that he did not actually say he was her friend. She turns excitedly toward her father and asks, didn't he say she was a good friend? The prince tells the Prime Minister to simply give up. It is beneficial to be allied with the Noga household. Just imagining them as enemies is terrifying. The Prime Minister sighs and agrees that he understands. Then Yulia states cheerfully that since the Prime Minister has become her friend, she has a request for him. Meanwhile, Mage arrives at the school where his lady studies, looking extremely excited. The prince and Mage walk side by side into the lunch hall. Mage asks what the next class is. The prince answers that it is history, adding that Mage asked the same question last week as well. Is it not about time for him to remember it? From behind a pillar, Yulia watches them quietly, keeping herself hidden. Mage looks unconcerned, and as they approach the food counter, he suggests that the prince take the set a meal while he takes set B, so that he can have a taste from the prince's portion. The prince questions what kind of logic that is. Instead of responding directly, Mage asks the girl beside him, it is difficult to decide because the meals here are all delicious, right? The girl becomes visibly flustered at being addressed so suddenly and nods. Around them, several other girls begin whispering among themselves, their attention fixed on mage. One of them comments that the transfer student is very refreshing and cool. Another admits that she used to support the prince's faction, but now feels tempted to change her support. The first agrees, mage is incredibly kind toward commoners. She adds that she has heard he is the prince's childhood friend. They realize that is why they are too close. Yulia thinks it seems like mage's reputation is quite good. Since then, in order to avoid unnecessary conflict with her fiancé and Miss Benake, she is making sure that they do not meet His Highness on school grounds. It is a strategy where they add Meager as the guard, and together with her brother, it will be a system where they will keep His Highness away from Miss Benash's evil clutches. Just then, Julie Benake comes running toward the prince. However, before she can collide with him, Meager reacts instantly and grabs His Highness and sticks out his foot, causing Julie to lose her balance and fall face first onto the floor. The prince looks utterly horrified and asks if there was not another way to save him. From behind, Meager lightly squeezes him and suggests that if His Highness dislikes that method, he could always hug him tightly instead. The prince immediately concedes that the first option is perfectly fine. Meager then steps forward and extends a hand toward Julie, his expression turning deceptively mild. He asks whether she is alright, adding that the lunch hall floor is quite dirty, so it would be better for her to stand up quickly. Julie looks up at him, her cheeks flushing. But before she can take his hand, he notices Yulia standing behind the pillar. He lets her fall again and reaches Yulia, lifting her up and spinning her around with pure happiness. Yulia lets out a startled sound and demands to be put down. But he laughs and says she said Kaya, how cute, and also adds that her uniform suits her very well. He says, since she is never free, this is a luxury, so he wants to enjoy it. Yulia glares at him sharply. In response, he casually promises that next time, he will work an entire day without pay as compensation, yet he does not stop spinning her. At that moment, the prince approaches from behind, not looking very happy, and remarks that Yulia still has to pay her employees. Meager tells him not to interfere. However, the prince reminds him that Roland is nearby, and if Roland were to see this, Meager immediately freezes and quickly sets Yulia down, his looking as pale as a ghost as he blurts out that the young master is terrifying. Yulia turns her gaze toward Julie, who is still on the floor, looking up with wide, tear-filled eyes. Julie suddenly cries out, accusing her of cruelty. She asks if Miss Yulia truly hates her that much. Yulia stands there, completely dumbfounded. In the next moment, Rammer appears at Julie's side like a personal guard. He pulls her into a tight embrace and loudly accuses Yulia of bullying Julie once again. Meager stills. He questions quietly why Rammer immediately assumes it is his lady's fault. He points out that his lady has done nothing. If Rammer had truly seen anything with his own eyes, there is no way he would have suspected his lady. He declares that if Rammer intends to pick a fight with his precious lady, then he will crush him. Both Rammer and Julie look visibly horrified. Yulia, on the other hand, looks stunned, but what is he going to crush? Rammer recovers slightly and points a finger at Meager, demanding to know who he thinks he is. He introduces himself as the heir to the Curian household and demands to know from which house Meager comes. Meager frowns slightly. Beside him, the prince casually says that it seems Rammer has never met him before. He then introduces him plainly, Meager is the Prime Minister's son. Rammer's face pales instantly. Several days earlier, in the royal castle, Meager meets the Prime Minister, his father. The Prime Minister thanks him for coming and asks if he has been taking care of himself. Meager leans back casually, linking his hands behind his head, and replies that he is doing well enough. He then notes that this is the first time he has been directly summoned to the royal castle and asks whether it concerns his mother. The Prime Minister answers that it does not. Instead, he has a request. He wants Meager to become a guard for His Highness. Meager's expression freezes. His mouth falls open in disbelief as he immediately rejects the idea. He blurts that if he is not working at the shop, then he cannot be useful to his lady. And his lady has no need for anything that does not bring her profit. The Prime Minister asks what he would say if it were Lady Yulia herself who made the request. He then hands him a letter addressed in his name. In the letter, Yulia tells him the Prime Minister has requested that he somehow take on the duty of a guard for His Highness, and because it will affect the sales of the store, she refused at first, but the Prime Minister said he will pay for any resulting loss, so that is why he consented it. There is a possibility that if he enrolls in the academy and takes economic classes as well as promotes the store, it might result in increased profit. Therefore, she has accepted the Prime Minister's request. She asks him in the end, if he has any objections to the content, he can tell her and she will reconsider. He breaks into a bright smile, remarking that the letter is exactly like something his lady would write. His father, observing his reaction, asks if he intends to accept. He grins and replies that of course he will do as his lady and the Prime Minister wish. In the present, he states sharply that although his father may be the Prime Minister, he belongs to his lady first, and he will not forgive anyone who harms her. Yulia tells him to stop speaking in such a misleading way, but he argues that as an employee of her shop, he is essentially her property, is he not? She responds certainly. The prince cuts in, if it is fine to agree to this. Julie says that despite being the Prime Minister's son, he is treated rather violently by Miss Yulia at the shop. He immediately refutes it, firmly stating that his lady has never inflicted any form of violence upon him. When she tries to argue, he demands coldly if she has witnessed it herself. There is no way she could have since his lady dislikes even pinching his cheeks. Yulia nods absent-mindedly, thinking that such behavior would probably please someone like him. He continues, insisting that although his lady may appear cold, she is in truth an extremely kind person, and no one has the right to make false accusations about her. At that moment, Raymer scoffs, remarking that it is shameless of her to seduce the Prime Minister's son while still having a fiancé. Yulia stares at him, utterly dumbfounded, while Raymer clutches Julie possessively at his side, looking oddly smug. Lowering his voice, Major leans toward Yulia and asks if she had truly planned to marry someone like him. She can only let out a groan. With wide, almost pleading eyes, he turns to her and declares that if that is the case, then he is clearly the better option. She replies dryly that she is well aware he is hardworking. He immediately questions if the issue is status, asking if it would work if he endured everything and eventually succeeded his father. She counters by pointing out his unfamiliarity with noble society, but before he can respond, Raymer interrupts loudly, accusing her of committing infidelity right before his eyes. He calls for attention, declaring that his fiancé is a cheater. She frowns and replies coolly that it is merely small talk, and if anything, the one who appears unfaithful is Raymer himself, considering he is currently hugging Miss Banach. Raymer flinches, stumbling over his words as he tries to justify that it is only because she was being bullied. Yulia asks if that means he hugs anyone who is bullied. Without waiting for an answer, she turns back to Major, smiling brightly as she calmly states that she is dismissing him. He freezes, shock overtaking his features, and blurts that those are the last words he ever wanted to hear. She replies simply that she knows. Then he pauses, understanding it, and asks if she is, in fact, bullying him. Her smile widens as she confirms it. Major bursts into laughter, immediately catching on. Spreading his arms dramatically, he turns toward Raymer and announces that since his lady is bullying him, perhaps he should hug him as well. Raymer panics, backing away and shouting at him not to come any closer. Major insists that unless he proves it properly, his lady will not be satisfied and he certainly does not wish to be fired. Raymer throws up his arms in protest, demanding what any of this has to do with hugging him. Raymer declares that he has no intention of entertaining such nonsense. Grabbing Julie, he turns and leaves in haste. Major watches him go, his expression shifting to disappointment as he remarks that he ran away. Yulia smiles brightly and tells him he did well, adding that she will reward him with a bonus. He says he does not need such things and asks her not to say such things again. The prince lets out a long sigh, closing his eyes at their tactics. Major approaches Yulia, who is working through documents on a bench. She looks up and asks why he is alone and where His Highness is. He replies that His Highness is currently in the office with the young master, engaged in a serious discussion. She says that if Roland is there, then there is nothing to worry about. However, she still warns him to remain cautious, adding that Roland's defense alone is not perfect, which is precisely why he is here. He smiles lightly and says he knows. Then Major remarks that, in that case, it should be fine for her to scold him, it's completely okay to even hit him. She bluntly says no. He chuckles softly and agrees, saying that, of course, his lady hates violence. After a brief pause, he asks if she remembers back when he had just started working at the shop, how he had failed so spectacularly. At the time, he had asked to be punished, even suggesting that she hit him. Instead, she had told him a story from her childhood. Back then, the young master and Raymer had gotten into a heated argument that quickly turned into a fistfight. Roland had been shouting furiously, declaring that he would never forgive Raymer for thinking he could take his precious sister. The two had started punching each other. Before it could escalate further, she moved quickly, stopping her brother and firmly declaring that if they continued, she would call their fathers. Roland stopped when he saw she was crying. Since then, she had made a decision, she would never resort to violence herself. He says quietly that she had only ever told that story to him. Even now, she has never shared it with anyone else. That is why, to him, it is his treasure. She says to think that her story is such a treasure to him. He is very unusual. He murmurs he doesn't want to be told that by his lady. She then quietly says, her treasure is mage. For a moment, he stiffens, looking completely surprised, but then she adds, and so are all the other employees in her store. He looks rather disappointed and says he was surprised, but then he asks her to say it one more time, just for him. In the Noga manor, her father has almost collected all the documents for breaking up Yulia's engagement. The title deed to the development of crops, his daughter is involved with the Marquis territory, the documents where the Marquis demanded money to cover the cost of preparation. Then the butler walks in his study and informs him, Marquis Raymer has arrived. Marquis Curien, Raymer's father, lets out an exaggerated laugh, his ring-covered fingers glinting as he remarks that engagements are extremely expensive, especially with bridal preparations. It costs a fortune. Yulia's father mirrors the same artificial smile, replying that he will prepare everything at once. Inside he just wants to hit him. Then, dropping the pretense slightly, he reveals his daughter, Yulia, wishes to reconsider her engagement with Raymer. The color drains from Marquis' face, he blurts out in shock what he means. What about money? But Yulia's father raises a hand, calmly instructing him to calm down. He clarifies that she merely wants to reconsider. He continues smoothly, explaining that his daughter hates losing money, so if she realizes she might be at risk of it, she will likely change her mind. That is precisely why he wants Marquis to sign a document. The terms are simple: if either party commits infidelity, the engagement will be annulled, and a consolation fee must be paid. Yulia's father adds that it seems his daughter has recently grown close to His Highness, the Prince, which is the reason she wants to reconsider the engagement. He says his daughter is cute and if she has someone she likes, he wishes to support her. However, such a situation would cause considerable trouble for the Curien household. The compensation would include ownership of his daughter's store and rights to several other assets. He doesn't think it sounds like such a bad deal. Privately, his thoughts are far colder. It is all a lie. His Highness and his daughter share no such romantic involvement. And the compensation amount? It is calculated to equal the total worth of the Marquis household if they sold everything. There is no way his daughter's store would be so cheap. Out loud, he adds that if she simply goes through with marrying Raymer, then none of it will matter. Marquis can consider it nothing more than insurance. Marquis grins, saying the amount is so-so. Yulia's father smirks inwardly, though he reins in his expression. Now is not the time to slip. The butler steps forward and presents the funds, stating that it is to cover the engagement preparations. Marquis takes the money, muttering that they had better ensure Yulia does not completely sweep his son off his feet, and signs the document. After he leaves, Yulia's father watches from the window in silence. The butler asks if he should sprinkle the salt. He replies that he will leave it to him. The butler mentions that the chef and gardener are already outside, taking care of it. The household staff, he adds, are truly excellent. With this, all the necessary documents have been secured. Yulia will be happy with this, right? The butler replies of course they should look forward to seeing the young lady's smiling face. Meanwhile, in Julie's room, she lies in her bed, surrounded by an army of stuffed toys. She stares at the ceiling, frustration bubbling over as she questions why nothing is going as planned. After she acted just like the heroine in Dokidoki, Lord Raymer fell madly in love with her. This book's content is supposed to become reality, and yet, why is she not getting along with the prince she adores? The one by His Highness is Yulia, who is exactly like the villainess. Well, even if she says that, in Doki Doki, the villainess isn't up front, so it is hard to understand if she really loves the Marquis's son or not. She is deeply jealous in the book, unlike Yulia, so their personalities are very different. At this rate, she wouldn't be able to defeat the Prince Flag at all. This is all Yulia's fault. if she doesn't hurry up and change the trajectory of the story. The next day, Julie approaches Yulia with an innocent expression, her wide eyes blinking softly as she asks if she could spare a moment of her time. Yulia and her brother mirror the same polite smile as Yulia asks what she needs. The prince immediately goes on guard, thinking it's amazing how they can always smile. Even mage greets her with a bright grin, but the prince can instantly tell he is feeling awkward. The girl steps forward hesitantly. Then her eyes widen further, shimmering with hope as she says she wants to make up with Yulia. She explains that there must have been some kind of misunderstanding between them, and asks if they can speak privately after classes. Yulia agrees easily, her smile polite. Julie turns and walks away, calling over her shoulder that Yulia should come to the third floor of the old school building later and that she must come alone. The prince stiffens, thinking that was scary. Yulia, however, notes that it seems she is about to recreate the fall down the stairs scene. The prince asks what she means. Yulia explains in the story, the heroine had gone alone. The villain had crossed her arms, remarking she really came alone. She called her an idiot, warning her to stay away from her fiancé, and then pushed her down the stairs. Before she could fall completely, Raymer had caught her. The prince looks thoroughly disturbed as he listens, asking what exactly she thinks will happen now. Even if she goes there, it is not as if she will suddenly become jealous enough to throw someone down the stairs. Yulia replies just as calmly that it will likely be the opposite. Julie will attempt to make it look like Yulia pushed her. The prince's expression tightens with concern as he asks if she will be alright. Yulia brightens instead, saying there is plenty of time to set up a magical recording device so there will be no blind spots. She assures him she will not make any mistakes. The prince slumps slightly, thinking of course. Yulia is that kind of woman. Still, he insists that is not what he meant. What if something actually goes wrong? She dismisses it, saying he is prone to worrying. Major gives her a determined nod and says he will go with her. Roland says he will go. She immediately refuses. He promised to work at the shop today, they are already short on manpower. Then she turns to Roland, adding that he cannot come either. She heard he has a meeting after classes to assist their father. She firmly states that she will not allow either of them to waste their time on something so small. The prince remains uneasy. She suddenly turns to him and asks brightly if this is not a good thing since Miss Banach will be in the old building, she will not be able to tackle him, so he can finally relax. He realizes she is right, but his gaze lowers slightly. He is not worried about himself. He is worried about her. Later, Yulia sets up the recording device in the old school building. Despite everything, the prince ends up coming out of worry. When he arrives, Raymer is already there, looking around impatiently and asking where Julie is. She told him to wait there. The prince freezes, thinking he is completely in the wrong place. Has he gotten lost? Raymer paces in a small area, clearly confused. The prince watches him for a moment, then looks away. Whatever the case, he cannot exactly call out to him. He moves closer to the staircase and stops. At the top, Yulia and Julie are already standing face to face. Yulia smiles faintly, thinking the recording device is working perfectly. She greets Julie politely and asks her reason for calling her here. Julie immediately asks if she came alone. Did she truly come alone? Yulia counters, didn't she say to come alone? She wonders why Julie is already delivering the villain's lines. Julie steps forward, her expression soft and innocent as she asks if Yulia does not think she is in the way. Should she not stop getting close to Lord Raymer? To Julie's shock, Yulia replies that she does not think so. If Lord Raymer chooses her, then she has her full blessing. Julie's expression falters. She insists that is wrong, that Yulia must be jealous. Yulia says that is not true at all. Julie snaps, accusing her of lying, and in the next moment, she deliberately throws herself down the stairs. Yulia instinctively reaches out to catch her, but the sudden motion pulls her off balance as well. Both of them lose their footing. From below, the prince watches in horror and shouts her name. A magic circle flares beneath his highness as he leaps, catching her mid-fall. Slowly, he opens his eyes, coming out of unconsciousness, as she screams his name again and again. The first thing Yulia noticed after hitting the ground was that he was pinned beneath her. He sits up and mumbles that he feels a little dizzy. She immediately reaches out, tears streaming down her face, gently touching his cheek and asking if anything hurts, if he feels bad, if his head hurts. He reassures her that he is fine, then asks how she is. She admits that because he protected her, she thought he had died. He looks momentarily surprised, then teases lightly, saying even cogs are irreplaceable. She flushes, flustered, scolding him not to say such stupid things, confessing she truly thought he might have been hurt because of her. She doesn't want to think of consolation money, but he chuckles, she really has a one-track mind. She admits those she considers cogs are important to her, she could never forgive him if he were harmed. He is shocked, unable to understand why such words make him so happy. Just then, Rammer comes running up, and Julie descends the stairs in a rush. Julie hits the floor and mumbles if she had fallen, while Yulia calls out for someone with healing magic. The prince watches, bemused, wondering what she is saying. No one could ignore someone who is about to be hurt right before their eyes. But if it had been Yulia hurt because of him, he shivers at the thought of how much consolation money she would demand. Yulia quietly tells Miss Banach not to speak such thoughtless words, but Julie says she should have let her be. This makes her furious and she whirls around, screaming what would she do if she got a permanent serious injury. She doesn't want someone hurt or die in front of her, cannot she understand that? The prince notes the Yulia who is always calm is seriously angry. She turns back to His Highness, instructing him to rest, asking if he feels pain anywhere. He assures her he does not. As he watches her, he begins to wonder, could Yulia consider him far more important than he thought? Recalling the fall, Yulia had thought she might die here and realized just how many things she still wanted to do. But the first thing she smelled as she fell was the scent of lilies, and when she opened her eyes, she saw the prince had saved her, unconscious beneath her. She thought her heart would stop, her heart raced, and her tears wouldn't cease. His Highness must have been hurting, but he was worried about her. He patiently waited for her to calm down while wiping away her tears. Matilda claps her hands excitedly, her eyes sparkling with delight as she exclaims, "Oh my, how lovely." Yulia asks her if this incident will really be used as a reference. She kind of feels bad for having reported on His Highness. Matilda replies of course it will, though he gets off for not rescuing her in a smarter way. Good grief, how sloppy he is in the one place really matters. In the story, he would have saved her gallantly. Yulia says it wasn't smart but it was very cool. Matilda stills, clearly surprised that Yulia defended him. But then she smiles, curiosity twinkling in her eyes, and asks if Yulia has fallen in love. Yulia freezes, blinking at her in surprise, and whispers uncertainly what love even is and what kind of feeling it could be. Matilda suggests that when people fall in love, they just know it. Your heart races when you see their face, when you become honest with yourself, you become flushed. She asks her if something similar to that happened. Yulia clears her throat and asks, does the heart racing from surprise count? Matilda mutters, no way. Yulia then thinks harder, but Matilda gently calls her and says when she thought the prince might be injured, what kind of feeling did she have? That makes Yulia freeze. And then she slowly admits, yes, her heart was beating faster. Just remembering it makes her chest hard. Just as that tension builds, she ruins it by saying the consolation fee for injuring a member of the royal family, what in the world would it cost? Matilda rubs her temples and releases a slow, disappointed breath. She then bluntly asks her if she loves His Highness the Prince. Yulia admits it is fun when she is together with His Highness. He gets angry when she says something rude and warns her about that. He also helped her with the exam report and even wrote her an introduction letter. Matilda then asks her that if the prince was in trouble, would she save him? She replies without hesitation, of course. Matilda asks, even for free? That makes her pause. She looks away and quietly says, it depends on the time and place. Matilda smiles and says, although she would be extremely happy if the prince and her started going out, she still thinks that even the prince has the right to choose. Of course, she has the right to choose as well. She then asks her, how about her son? She replies, how about his right to choose? She winks at her and says, if she chooses him, then that child would never say no. That makes her giggle as well. Later, she explains everything to His Highness, who looks hesitant and asks if something like this will really become material for the story. Yulia says it will sell well. He says that he will just say this. He also wanted to save her in a cool way. She says that it was perfectly cool. He tells her to stop, stating that she is embarrassing him. She laughs, remarking that his blush is very cute. He insists that he is not happy at all. She calls out, asking if he knows what kind of feeling love is. He replies that he knows it somewhat. She requests that he teach her in detail. He refuses. She asks why, and he explains that it is something she has to discover on her own. She would not be able to understand it unless it is with a partner who makes her happy when they are together, he says. She questions whether that is true. She rolls down beside him on the grass. She observes him with curiosity and asks what is he looking at. He tells her to do what she wants. She admits that she is sleepy. He assures her that he will wake her when the recording is over, so it is fine to sleep. She slowly opens her eyes again, waking to see Roland pushing the highness angrily, screaming threats. The prince is trying to explain that there has been a misunderstanding and demands he listen. She rubs her eyes and greets her brother with a soft good morning. The prince immediately tells her to quickly explain to Roland that absolutely nothing happened. He instructs her to be honest. She asks what he means. He clarifies that when he arrived, she and the highness were getting along and taking a nap together. She becomes flustered and turns her anger on his highness. He also fell asleep. He responds that her slow, sleepy breathing seemed to lull him into slumber. She grumbles wasn't he supposed to wake her up. Then she turns back to her brother and casually says it seems they did take a nap together. His face contorts into pure anger. He warns that even if she does not see the highness as a man, the highness might not share her disinterest. He emphasizes that it will be dangerous if she is not careful. She blushes and offers an apology. He turns to the highness and issues an ominous warning that if the behavior repeats, the highness will sleep with the fishes. He adds that the highness is a man, and men can become wolves. She cannot let her guard down. She pauses thoughtfully and asks her brother if he means a wolf with glossy fur. Both her brother and the prince appear taken aback. She expresses her desire to pet such a wolf, noting that the fur would need to be examined. Her brother groans, explaining that it is a metaphor. She remarks that she had imagined something more akin to beast men from foreign countries. In a clueless tone, she asks her brother what the metaphor truly means. The prince pats Roland on the shoulder, acknowledging that he also has it rough, while Roland mutters that he did not expect her to be this naive and questions if he made a mistake in the way he raised her. At the college, a student approaches her. The girl asks if she is the young lady of the Count Noga's household. She looks slightly surprised but nods. The girl smiles warmly and introduces herself as Monica, the third daughter of Marquis Perpile, Lady Monica Perpile. There is hardly a noblewoman in the country who does not know her. As a relative of the Queen, she is widely regarded as the most likely candidate to become His Highness's fiancé. The ladies standing behind her are all from distinguished families as well. Monica states that she will get straight to the point and asks if the rumor about her being lovers with His Highness is true. Confused, she says she has no memory of ever doing something like that. When Monica accuses her of lying, she calmly denies it, insisting that she is not lying. She tilts her head in an innocent manner. The gesture strikes Yulia as cute, but then she pauses. After all, the Perpile household is known as one of the most charismatic among the nobility. The Noga imitates merchants. There are houses in high society that call them inferior for it. In other words, there is no disadvantage in forming a connection with someone like Lady Monica. She offers a pleasant smile and explains that His Highness and she are merely friends. She adds that Lady Monica is far more suitable to stand beside His Highness, as she is both kind and well respected. She assures her that there is no cause for concern. Monica immediately grows shy, hurriedly attempting to deny that she holds any affection for His Highness. Yulia asks if there is someone else Monica loves. She is her ally, she will help. Yulia watches the reaction with quiet amusement, thinking that it is a cute expression, so much so that she feels an urge to pat Monica on the head. From a distance, His Highness observes the scene, his eyes narrowing slightly. He soon steps forward and remarks that she is exactly like Roland. He points out that she was just thinking about patting Monica's head. Yulia looks at him in surprise and asks how does he know that. The prince replies that she shows the same expression Roland does whenever he looks at her or at small animals. She stares at him, thoughtful. The expression he describes is indeed one she recognizes from her brother. Just how well does he know Roland? She gives him a suspicious look and remarks that she has thought about it before, but he truly spends a great deal of time with her brother. The prince immediately senses something dangerous in her tone and asks what exactly she is imagining. She murmurs that she is considering the possibility of publishing a love story using him and her brother as the models. He snaps at her, telling her not to do such a thing. Even the mere idea leaves him visibly horrified. He firmly adds that she absolutely must not allow Matilda to write anything like that either. She quietly notes that he appears far too frightened. At that moment, Roland approaches and asks what the two of them are doing in such a place. His gaze carries a hint of suspicion, though he remains unaware that his sister would much rather pair them together than involve herself with His Highness. She tells her brother that they were only talking and asking what has happened. He replies that it is nothing in particular. Then, his attention shifts to Monica. Monica stiffens visibly before offering a polite greeting, wishing him a good day, though her voice comes out slightly nervous. Yulia notices Monica's reaction keenly. The way Monica behaves around her brother plants yet another idea in her mind, one that begins to take the shape of a story. From behind her, the prince quietly warns her not to even think about selling it. She tells him to stop reading her mind. He replies that her thoughts are far too obvious. Monica asks again if she and His Highness are truly not in a relationship. Yulia pauses to consider it. If His Highness and she were lovers, she thought the talks of her becoming His Highness' fiancé would disappear. She steps closer to Monica, leaning in slightly. With a soft expression, she takes a strand of Monica's hair between her fingers and remarks that her hair is truly beautiful. She adds that, perhaps in the future, she would like to gift her an ornament that would suit such lovely hair. Monica freezes completely. Beside them, the prince says Monica is a woman. Yulia turns to glare at him, asking if she appears to be a man in his eyes. He replies that, from his perspective, all he can see is her attempting to seduce Monica. She protests that it is only natural to want to give a gift to someone cute. The prince counters that Monica is his childhood friend and should not be dragged into anything strange. Yulia glares at him again, inwardly annoyed that he is interfering with her affairs. Then, quite suddenly, she points toward a nearby pillar and states that Julie is standing behind it. The prince startles immediately. Yulia then turns back to Monica, offering a polite apology. She says that she will treat her to suitable accessories from her store and expresses regret for causing any trouble. Monica quickly tells her that there is no need for such formality and asks her to raise her head. Yulia also says Monica is truly kind and that she is happy to have grown closer to her. While Roland watches his sister's tactics with a smile, Yulia's expression turns serious as she looks at Monica and asks if she could explain the details of the rumor. After that she asks Lady Monica and the surrounding ladies how many hair ornaments she may send to their homes as gifts, thinking that it would serve as excellent publicity. The three of them are currently recording the affair, hiding behind the bushes. The prince mutters that, nevertheless, the situation has become rather troublesome. According to Lady Monica, the topic has spread widely among the nobles. The rumor claims that His Highness and Lady Yulia are involved in a forbidden love. It has become a particularly heated subject within the academy. The nobles are divided into two factions, those who believe the two suit each other, and those who criticize the pairing as mismatched. Among the commoners, however, the majority appear to support the relationship. Yulia lets out a long sigh, remarking that all of this began because their argument about the afternoon nap had been overheard. She adds that it is entirely her brother's fault. Roland immediately fires back, it is entirely the prince's fault. The prince closes his eyes and apologizes. Roland, still fuming, declares that he will never leave the two of them alone together again. After a moment, Yulia asks where mage has gone. The prince replies that mage had been too loud and annoying, so he left him behind. Roland says that regardless, the rumor is dangerous. He adds that it is the prince's fault for falling asleep beside her and allowing her to use his arm as a pillow. The prince admits that he has no idea how the situation turned out to be like that and says that he would appreciate their forgiveness. Yulia, meanwhile, is caught on a single detail. She repeats the phrase arm pillow in her mind, noting that this is her first time hearing of such a thing. Roland continues, saying that if Raymond hears of this, he will likely use the rumor as a shield. Yulia calmly states that there is absolutely no problem. Both Roland and the prince turn to her at the same time, calling out to her in confusion. She explains that, after all, there is no evidence supporting the rumor. They repeat the word evidence in unison, clearly puzzled. Yulia looks at them with wide, thoughtful eyes, remarking that the two of them truly get along well. Internally thinking, like she thought they would sell well as a couple. Then, she continues, saying that if it remains only a rumor, then that is even better. If there is rumor while she possesses recorded proof, then it becomes clear who is more credible. A bright smile spreads across her face as she adds that if Ramar intends to defeat her while being careless and unprepared, then it will only further her own advantage. The prince exhales deeply, thinking that he is really glad that Yulia is not his enemy. Yulia then adds that she has thought of another plan, one that will allow them to turn the tables, exploit the rumor, and even make a profit from it. Her smile, however, gives the prince nothing but a bad feeling. A few days later, at the royal castle, Yulia makes her announcement. This time, the gathering includes not only the usual group but also the prime minister. Yulia states that the timing is perfect, as it is nearly 1 year since she opened her clothing store, Ariad. She explains that she will be hosting an event. Customers who spend above a certain amount at the store will be given the opportunity to take a photograph with His Highness. The Prime Minister sighs, remarking that he is not impressed by her attempt to use a member of the royal family for personal business matters. Yulia acknowledges that the concern is reasonable. However, she explains that the true purpose of the event is to dispel the shameful rumor surrounding His Highness. She adds that the high spending requirement ensures that the opportunity will not be taken lightly, and therefore there should be no cause for concern. The prince quietly mutters that he does not feel reassured in the slightest. Yulia continues, stating that she would also like Roland and Mage to attend the event. She explains that having a variety of people present would be beneficial. Mage immediately brightens, declaring that if his lady gives the order, he will gladly do anything she wishes. He then asks how exactly this plan will dispel the rumors. Yulia replies that she will explain. Going forward, they will take photographs of themselves interacting closely and use them as promotional material. The public will be told that the afternoon nap incident was merely part of a location scouting effort for sample foods. Roland acknowledges that it is a good plan. Mage enthusiastically declares that he will participate and even offers to flirt with Yulia for the sake of the act. Roland immediately snaps, warning that if Mage touches Yulia more than necessary, he will kick him. Mage recoils in horror, exclaiming that the young master is terrifying. Meanwhile, Yulia watches the exchange with a mischievous smile. The prince mutters that all of her desires are written all over her face. Yulia says, "Oh my, it's unreasonable to blame her, it's his fault for falling asleep in the first place." As Roland and Mage continue their argument, which, to me, looks less a debate and more Roland aggressively attacking the poor guy, the preparations move forward. The photo shoot begins. Soon after, the promotional photographs are displayed across the academy on large billboards, celebrating Ariad's 1-year anniversary. Yulia watches from a distance, a satisfied grin on her lips as groups of girls excitedly declare that they will definitely attend the event to take a picture with His Highness. The reaction is overwhelming. By the day of the event, the crowd is so large that people gather even outside the venue. It is a 3-day event. His Highness, Mariger, and her brother all made an appearance. They took pictures with the customers. The customers cannot take pictures of them sleeping together or anything, but rather 2 pictures standing side by side. Since the posters were on the advertisements, it is not a problem. The event was a great success. The store's inventory is mostly gone. Somehow it sold out during the first half of the 3 days. His Highness looks worn out, she acknowledges he has worked hard. She then announces with a happy smile that she has a suggestion. Shouldn't they hold this event every month? He doesn't even hesitate and says he refuses, exhausted. By the way, it seemed like Ms. Banach spent those 3 days circling the store because she was banned. A few days before Ariad's anniversary event, at Matilda and Mage's house, Matilda drops her head onto the desk with a dramatic thud, crying out that it is over. She declares that she simply wants to sleep for 3 days straight. Yulia stands nearby, beaming, praising her for the hard work and saying that Dokugan is finally complete. She adds that she is looking forward to it. It's clear she is actually looking forward to the sales, lol. Matilda suddenly springs upright, full of energy once more. She declares that with this, Yulia and His Highness will surely have a happy ending. Yulia tells her that while it may be prophetic writing, she does not believe such prophetic power works on her. Matilda becomes sad and murmurs she had hoped it might at least make Yulia more aware, even just a little. Yulia asks why she wishes so strongly for the prophecy to come true. Matilda beams brightly and explains that if Yulia falls in love, she will become even cuter and happier as well. Yulia thinks Miss Matilda is a strange woman. Later, in the dining hall a group of girls surrounds Yulia, excitedly chattering that the anniversary event was wonderful. One of them says that she had wanted to take a picture as well, but her allowance had not been enough. Yulia smiles gently and replies that what truly matters is that everyone had a good time, though it is unfortunate about the photographs. Then she adds that for everyone's sake, she has prepared demo pictures and sample candidates. The girls immediately lean in, their eyes sparkling as they begin pleading to buy them. Yulia lets out a quiet, almost wicked giggle, thinking that this will be good for business. Off to the side, the prince watches and remarks that she has let her guard down, her expression is an open book. Just then, Grandier raises her hand, stating that she would like a picture of Lady Noga using His Highness's arm as a pillow. Renard nods in agreement but adds that she would rather have a picture of Lady Noga alone. Yulia pauses, realizing something important, her own photographs might sell just as well. The prince immediately shuts that down, telling her not to even consider selling her own images. She tells him to stop reading her mind. He replies that he does not admire women who would sell themselves. Without missing a beat, Yulia counters by asking how he would feel about a photograph of His Highness half-naked. He blurts out in shock, asking when such a picture was even taken and firmly stating that she absolutely cannot sell it. Yulia explains that it is thanks to her highly competent butler. The prince stiffens, realizing that he has been caught off guard in a place he least expected. He needs to be more cautious. Yulia, meanwhile, finds his reaction curious. It is only natural for him to be angry, yet His Highness continues to be a strange person. At that moment, Mage appears carrying food, asking why his brother is being so loud. The prince points at Yulia and explains that she is considering selling her own pictures. Mage's face lights up instantly. He declares that he will buy them, he wants her pictures. The prince gestures toward him as if presenting evidence, telling Yulia that men like this exist. Yulia mutters that perhaps she should give up on the idea. Mage cries out dramatically, saying that she is making him cry. Yulia then reminds him that she already gave him a photograph of the two of them together from the other day. Mage smiles warmly, saying that he cherishes it. Yulia thinks how strange, even though he is a grown man, he still looks cute to her. She wonders if such a personality might appeal to her female customers. Mage then asks if she has considered placing that photograph in her room as decoration. Yulia freezes and then blushes. They all go quiet, all eyes turning toward her reaction. Mage asks whose picture she has displayed. Surely, it must be his. Yulia mumbles that she does not wish to say. The girls immediately grow excited, encouraging her to confess and promising their full support. At that moment, Roland enters. He places a hand on her shoulder and announces that it is too bad for Mage because Yulia has hung up his photograph instead. Yulia says that aside from childhood pictures, she does not have many photographs with her brother. She simply placed it among her family pictures. Her face reddens further as she covers it with her hands, muttering that the entire conversation is embarrassingly childish and should end. Mage drops to his knees, overwhelmed, declaring that she is far too cute and that it is completely unfair. He begs her to hang up his picture as well. Yulia asks why she would do such a thing. He responds that it should be obvious, it is because he loves her more than anything. Roland appears beside her instantly and states that this is enough. Mage should not get any closer to Yulia. Mage startles, blurting out that he had forgotten the young master was even there. Yulia, however, smiles softly and suggests that they should all take a photograph together at Ariad in front of the store. She explains that all the employees are also her precious family. Mage remarks that somehow the goal has completely changed. Julie stares at the final version of the book and screams that it cannot be true. From a distance, Yulia thinks she must be reading the latest release. Julie suddenly lifts her head, glaring at Yulia with tears in her eyes. At that moment, Rammer storms forward and grabs Yulia by the collar, shouting that she has done it again. The prince and Mage both look furious. While Yulia thinks, to think that a noble man would use physical violence against a woman. She can use this fact alone to claim more palimony. Before she can even react further, Mage forces Rammer to the ground, twisting his arm behind his back and demanding to know what he thinks he is doing. Roland appears beside Yulia in an instant, asking if she is alright. Her hand trembles slightly, but she clenches it firmly. Mage's voice turns cold as he warns that Rammer will not be allowed to get away with such behavior. Yulia quickly calls out, urging her brother to stop Mage. When Roland hesitates, she leans closer and whispers that it will become difficult to claim palimony. Roland immediately instructs Mage to release him. Mage does not comply at first, his anger too strong. Roland lowers his voice and adds that he would not want Yulia to hate him. That is enough. Mage freezes. His expression tightens before he finally releases Rammer. Yulia steps forward slightly and asks Rammer what exactly she has done. He glares at her, stating that Julie had been crying, so it is obvious that Yulia must have done something to her. The prince calls out sharply, questioning if he truly grabbed a woman by the collar over something so small. Whispers begin to spread among the crowd as more people take notice of the scene. Roland warns Rammer to stay away from Yulia for the time being. She changed the story's plot, she broke up the prince and the heroine, and made her own role bigger. What does she think a heroine is? Yulia calmly thinks she had intention of making any roles bigger. Miss Banake is surprisingly very intuitive. She admits it is true that a book is published by the Noga household. Julie says as she thought, to think she would change the plot for her own self-interest, it is blasphemous to the story. Yulia says this development came after meeting with the author and coming to a mutual agreement. The aim was for the readers to be satisfied and pleased with the content. Julie shakes with barely restrained anger and snaps she will never accept this kind of ending. There is no way other readers will accept it. Yulia calmly responds it doesn't matter what kind of ending she wanted, she can only accept it. It has already been published, so they will reject any customer complaints about the ending. The prince looks done with it and tells Roland it is time. Yulia trembles even now. Roland picks her up to her shock. She calls him in a flustered tone, but he says she has been bad with violence ever since they were children. It is fine, so she should just let herself be carried quietly like a child. She softly says, okay. After they walk away, Rammer asks Julie what was she and Yulia talking about, but she doesn't respond to him and mutters to herself she has to change it, looking crazy. She cannot act like in the book. He looks surprised and calls out her name. Then his gaze lands on the book. He asks, what is that book? As they approach the gazebo, the prince remarks that if they go further in, there should be no people around. It seems they have gotten away from the crowd as well. Major looks around curiously and asks what kind of place this is. He then declares that it looks like the perfect spot for a lunch nap. The prince immediately tells him to lower his voice, pointing out that he is far too loud. Yulia, still in Roland's arms, softly tells him that she is already fine and that he can put her down. When Roland sets her on her feet, she stumbles almost immediately. Before she can fall, the prince steps forward and catches her. He calls her name softly. She looks slightly troubled and admits that it feels strange, she cannot seem to put any strength into her legs. The prince tells her not to push herself and supports her carefully. Meanwhile, Major quickly spreads a mat on the ground, suggesting that she sit there. However, the prince instead guides her to sit directly in front of him. Roland calls out his name in a warning tone. The prince replies that he understands the warning and even admits that Roland is frightening, but this is an emergency, he can spare him. Major suggests that they switch places, but Roland dismisses the idea, stating that the prince is still better than him. Then Roland looms over Major and says though he can be hit instead of his highness. Major panics immediately, protesting that he does not wish to be hit by anyone other than his lady. That earns a small giggle from Yulia. She thanks all of them sincerely, admitting that she is grateful they were there, otherwise, she might have been hit. Major's expression softens. He kneels in front of her and gently pats her head, assuring her that he would never allow a guy like that to hit her. Almost immediately, Roland swats his hand away and replaces it with his own, gently patting her head. He softly adds that he would not allow anyone to raise a hand against his precious sister either. The prince leans closer and whispers that she should rest assured, everyone is on her side. At those words, her eyes begin to fill with tears. And she starts crying. The prince squeezes her hand in comfort. However, Roland notices immediately and warns the prince not to take advantage of her confused state, adding that next time, he will not hesitate to kill him. The prince replies calmly that he is merely consoling her and his eyes say he will kill him right here. Roland admits that while he does not forgive him, Yulia's well-being is far more important at the moment, which is the only reason he is restraining himself. Through her sniffles, Yulia tells her brother that she loves him. Roland's expression softens immediately. He blushes slightly and replies that he loves her as well. Major quickly points to himself with puppy eyes, asking if she does not love him too. Yulia glances at him briefly before turning to the prince instead, stating that she trusts him. The prince smiles faintly and says that he could not ask for greater praise. After a moment, Yulia murmurs that she has gathered sufficient evidence. She declares that she will break off her engagement with him. They will all cooperate, right? They immediately agree, stating that they will ensure she receives proper compensation. Yulia breaks into a beaming smile as she declares that she will make sure to squeeze him dry. A few days later, the academy's dance party begins. In Dokugan, this is the moment where the villainess's engagement is broken off. The king and queen sit upon their seats on the raised stage, the prince sits with them as well. The prime minister and his son, mage, stand next to him. Yulia enters the hall with Roland by her side, thinking the stage is set. Outside the hall, Julie struggles against her father, insisting that she does not want to go inside. He reminds her that she had been looking forward to the dance party. He asks whether it is because of that picture book she has been reading. Julie admits that everything is wonderful but insists that she cannot go in, because things will turn out exactly like the story. Her father asks what she is talking about. However, he soon insists that she must attend, especially since His Majesty the King is present. Julie reluctantly admits that he is right. Without giving her another chance to refuse, he begins pulling her along, assuring her that she will enjoy herself. She protests loudly but then suddenly falls silent. Her gaze fixes on Yulia, who greets the king and queen with courtesy. She introduces herself as the eldest daughter of House Noga and states that she is always under His Highness's care as a friend. The queen smiles, recognizing the name. She remarks that if she recalls correctly, House Noga is well known for its involvement in foreign trade and business. Yulia smiles politely, though inwardly she notes the opportunity. She confirms it and states that her house can provide any merchandise that would satisfy their desires aside from anything illegal. The queen expresses interest in the types of tea she carries. Yulia immediately responds, listing Darjeeling, Earl Grey, Orange Pekoe, Nulgirai, First Flush, and various specially flavored teas sourced from abroad, explaining that they deal in a wide variety of black teas. The queen remarks that she is impressed by how much Yulia can recite without hesitation. Yulia responds that she would be honored to present a curated selection later. She adds that while she could explain the origins of each tea immediately, she would also be happy to recommend cakes and snacks that pair well with each type. The queen smiles again, though this time, Yulia senses it has a hidden meaning. The queen then asks what else House Noga deals in. Yulia replies that they handle fabrics, jewels, and many other goods, offering to prepare a detailed list if Her Majesty has any specific interests. The queen comments that at this rate, Yulia may soon be capable of replacing her in matters of diplomacy. Yulia pauses, slightly surprised, and asks if Her Majesty is suggesting that she serve as her replacement. The queen confirms it casually. Yulia interprets this in her own way, asking if Her Majesty is dissatisfied with diplomacy and offering her assistance at any time if needed. The queen lets out a soft laugh and glances toward her son. He must have hard time as well. The prince offers no comment. The king, however, smiles warmly and comments that it is impressive that such a capable and beautiful young lady is his son's friend. He adds that there is clearly more to his son, Radonic, than meets the eye. He then asks if she would grant him a dance later. Yulia asks if His Majesty is certain he wishes to dance with her. He confirms that he does. At that very moment, Rama rushes into the hall with urgency, calling out that he must speak with the king immediately. Her fiancé, because betrothed couples are lower in the order of court greetings, it is customary for the fiancé of a marquis household to give greetings much later. How nice it would be if he could abide by the proper order of things. The king asks him he is the eldest son of the House of Curian, correct? He looks proud and replies yes, he is His Highness, the prince's close friend, Ramar Curian. The king glances at his son for confirmation, who quietly shakes his head. Ramar then requests the king to listen to his story. The king sighs and asks what is his story. He declares, until now he has had a fiancé he did not desire, however, he has found true love. Due to that, with regards to the other woman over there, Yulia Noga, he wants to cancel his engagement with her. Both the siblings grin. Meanwhile, Count Noga approaches Ramar's father, asking if his son is not with him. The Marquis of House Curian lets out a frustrated breath, replying that his son disappeared before he even noticed, despite the fact that he was supposed to display the power and dignity of House Curian before the other nobles. Count Noga smiles, thinking that this development has saved him the trouble of separating them himself. Count Curian comments that Count Noga seems to be in a good mood today. Count Noga brushes it off, saying that it is just his imagination. Then he says earlier he saw a rammer heading toward the gates. The Marquis mutters his son is truly troublesome. He turns and begins heading toward the gates, while Count Noga waves thinking that Yulia better do well. Inside the hall, Rammer raises his voice once more. He declares that he wishes to formally acknowledge the cancellation of his engagement with that woman and that he will instead marry Julie Benake. Silence falls over the hall following his bold announcement. The king smiles calmly and replies that it is understood. He then asks if that is all Rammer wished to say. Rammer falters slightly before shaking his head. He then loudly accuses Yulia, claiming that she is an evil woman who bullied his beloved, Julie Benake. The king turns his gaze toward Yulia and asks if she knows anything about this matter. Yulia answers plainly that she does not. Rammer immediately points at her, accusing her of pretending ignorance. He insists that she tripped Julie and caused her to fall. He claims to have heard that she manipulated matters behind the scenes to prevent Julie from even purchasing daily necessities and that there is much more. Yulia remains composed and repeats that she has no memory of such actions. Rammer scoffs, accusing her of playing dumb. Yulia calmly states that she has no reason to torment Lady Benake. Rammer insists that it must be due to jealousy. Yulia gives him a blank look and asks if he has any proof. Rammer grows excited, declaring that he has witnessed such incidents multiple times himself. Yulia sighs inwardly, how much of an idiot is he? Then, she snaps her fingers. The head butler of House Noga steps forward immediately. Yulia explains that, having anticipated that the engagement would be annulled today, she has already prepared the necessary documents. The butler presents them. She asks Rammer to sign, adding that the documents can be approved by His Majesty immediately afterward. Without hesitation, Rammer signs. Yulia doubts Rammer even questioned why everything had already been prepared in advance. The king accepts the documents and asks Yulia if she has any objections to the annulment. Yulia smiles and replies that she has none. She explains that while she initially believed that an engagement with Rammer and House Curian might prove useful, she has since realized that the house is of no value to her and no longer finds the marriage necessary. The king then notes that although she said she has no memory of it, Rammer has accused her of being an evil woman, who has tormented people. He asks what she has to say in response. Yulia replies calmly that Lady Julie appears somewhat inattentive and easily falls because of it. She adds it is just occasionally that happens when she is by her side. She further explains that Julie caused disturbances at the store she manages and was therefore banned, but that this does not prevent her from purchasing necessities elsewhere. As for Rammer, Yulia clarifies that their engagement was purely political. She states plainly that she holds no affection for him, and therefore has no reason for jealousy. The king nods, stating that he understands the situation clearly. He signs the documents, formally approving the annulment. Yulia thanks him gracefully. With this the cancellation of the engagement has been publicly completed. She smiles. Rammer, however, glares at her and warns that she should laugh while she still can. He then declares that there is another matter the king must hear. He accuses Yulia of infidelity, claiming that while engaged to him, she was unfaithful of all people, His Highness the Prince. Yulia asks again does he have any proof. Rammer insists that it is widely rumored at the academy that she had a secret meeting with the prince in the garden. Yulia snaps her fingers again. The butler presents a large poster. Yulia explains that it is an advertisement for her store. She states that His Highness kindly assisted her as part of a promotional campaign, and that there is a formal contract documenting the arrangement. She adds that since the photograph was taken in the garden, it appears to have led to misunderstandings. She offers a polite apology for any confusion caused. The queen smiles, remarking that she has heard of the advertisement and finds it quite impressive. Yulia expresses her gratitude for the praise. Then, she adds that she has additional materials she would like to present. A recording device is brought forward. The footage begins to play. It shows numerous interactions between Rammer and Julie, intimate moments, secret meetings, and finally, the incident where Julie deliberately pretends to fall. Rammer's face pales as he stares at the evidence. When did she even? Yulia steps forward and respectfully asks His Majesty to judge which of them has committed infidelity. The king smirks faintly and replies that with such clear evidence, it's perfectly obvious. He then asks what Yulia intends to do with this situation. Yulia answers bluntly that she intends to claim compensation. A darker smile appears on the king's face, one that even makes Yulia think she wouldn't want him as an enemy. The king refers to the contract, pointing out a clause stating that in the event of infidelity leading to a broken engagement, the offending party must pay a specified sum. Rammer begins to tremble as Yulia calmly states that she intends to claim that full amount. She then asks the king if House Kurian is truly necessary to the country. The king asks what she would do if it were not. Yulia smiles lightly and replies that she would not do anything in particular. At that moment, the Marquis of Kurian storms into the hall, his expression furious. He demands to know what his son thinks he is doing. Rammer proudly declares that he has annulled his engagement with Yulia and can now be with his true love. Before he can say anything more, his father strikes him across the face with such force that he collapses to the ground. The Marquis then turns to Yulia and says it was a mistake, saying that he will properly discipline his foolish son and that such talk of annulment should never have been spoken. Yulia apologizes politely, explaining that the matter has already been concluded. The documents have been signed and approved by His Majesty. The Marquis freezes, his mouth slightly open in shock. The king then speaks calmly, remarking that he has long held doubts regarding the usefulness of House Kurian. He wonders aloud if the Marquis is truly necessary for the country. Yulia asks he is not needed. The king's lips curl into a grin. He is not. The Marquis of Kurian accuses him of conspiring against him. Count Noga plays dumb and asks what exactly he is referring to. Then he turns toward the king and expresses his gratitude for approving his daughter's engagement cancellation. Calmly, he presents another document. He requests that His Majesty sign it as well, this one concerning the foreclosure of all property and assets belonging to the Kurian estate. He explains that this includes the settlement for infidelity, repayment of funds from prior dealings, compensation for falsely accusing Yulia of crimes, damages for the act of violence committed against her, and several other penalties. For that amount of money, even all of the Kurian Marquisite's current property and assets altogether would not be enough. The Marquis turns to his son and demands to know if he truly committed violence against Lady Yulia. Rammer stands frozen, unable to respond. Roland steps forward at that moment. He states calmly that although she was saved by the Prime Minister's son, who subdued Rammer, there is no denying that Rammer grabbed his sister by the collar in front of the general public and attempted to accuse her of a crime she did not commit. The king nods once and signs the document without hesitation. The Marquis collapses at once. Count Noga remarks that although House Kurian has now lost its lands and estate, the Marquis still has the option of relying on his wife's family, who hold the rank of Count. It would be best for them to live under their roof. Rammer, however, suddenly speaks up, asking what will happen to the commoners of their fief. He insists that people like them would never truly care about the commoners. There is no way he can let these people steal their territory and house. He asks His Majesty, isn't that right? Before the king can respond, Count Noga smiles and says Ramon really is a moron. Yulia realizes that their father is pretty angry. Roland nods. At that moment, the butler speaks in a composed tone, stating that Lord Rammer is a moron who fails to understand the situation. Since he's a moron, if Count Noga doesn't explain everything in detail, he wouldn't understand. Count Noga says His Majesty already knows, but the House of Kurian has no ability to govern over their territory because they have done nothing but collect taxes. The inhabitants of the fief have led exceedingly difficult lives. At that time, the one who helped the population of the fief was Yulia. Because of the reformation program that Yulia suggested, the people of the Kurian territory have somehow recovered. The people of the Kurian fief have immeasurable trust towards Yulia. They were asked to choose which territory they wanted part of between House Noga and House Kurian. He presents another document. It contains the signatures of the residents of the Kurian fief, those who have chosen to transfer their allegiance to House Noga rather than remain under House Kurian. He states that the number exceeds 80% of the population. The Marquis's face drains of color as he stares at the document. The king observes the scene with clear interest. He remarks that Yulia is both extremely intelligent and very interesting. Then, turning to the Marquis, he instructs him to start over from the beginning with his duty as a Marquis and with the education of his son. Rammer, however, still refuses to accept the situation. He insists that he just committed to his true love, he has done nothing wrong. Before he can continue, a voice echoes through the hall. Julie declares, clearly and without hesitation, that she will not marry Lord Rammer. Julie declares that she will not marry Lord Rammer, he is not the person she loves. She hesitates. Then adds that while she does think Lord Ramor is admirable, his social standing is far too different from hers. Lowering her gaze slightly, she continues that her heart has already chosen someone else. That person is her fated one, though, according to her, the villainous Yulia has gotten in the way. Then, slowly, she lifts her eyes and looks directly at the prince. She asks, "Isn't that right?" The prince visibly flinches. Yulia watches the scene unfold, wondering if she should save him or not. The prince begins to sweat, clearly overwhelmed. Yulia lets out a small sigh. It seems like it would be best to save him. She intervenes smoothly and resumes the conversation, suggesting to the king that perhaps they should resume the dance. She adds lightly that otherwise, she may lose her chance to share a dance with His Majesty. Everyone completely forgets what she had to say, but then Julie cries out for them to wait. Her voice rises as she declares that her fated person is none other than His Highness the Prince. Silence crashes over the hall. Then, murmurs erupt among the nobles. The king, however, simply asks, "So what?" Julie stares at him, stunned. The king continues, pointing out that she had just claimed that Lord Ramor's social standing was too far from her own. Yet now, she professes love for the prince, whose social standing is much higher than both of them. He asks if she is aware just how ridiculous she sounds saying things like these one after another. Julie stammers, insisting that if two people truly love each other, they can overcome any obstacle. The prince closes his eyes and apologizes, but states clearly that he does not hold any feelings for her. Julie protests, recalling the time he saved her when she nearly fell in the hallway. The prince corrects her immediately, that was just her tackling him. She insists that they met at Yulia's store because they were drawn to each other. He replies it was nothing more than coincidence. Then his gaze sharpens. He orders her to stop speaking. Julie freezes under the command. A weak no way escapes her lips. Desperate, she turns to Mage next, claiming that he is the kindest person to her and therefore must be her fated one. Mage blinks in surprise, pointing at himself. Then, unexpectedly, he smiles brightly. He says that while it is flattering to receive a confession from such a lovely lady, he must decline. He has already decided that the most important person in his life is his lady, to whom he intends to devote his whole life. Julie's expression crumples further. She turns once more, this time toward Roland. She claims that Roland loves her. Roland looks at her without emotion and asks if he has ever told her he loved her because he has no memory whatsoever. He's a man who thinks his sister is so cute that it cannot be helped. Does she think that someone like him would fall in love with a woman like her after she hurt Yulia time and time again? He could never understand a man who thinks like that. Julie finally breaks. Tears spill down her face as she begins to sob. Unable to endure any longer, she turns and runs from the hall. Ramor immediately follows after her. Yulia watches them leave, thinking it's her punishment for treating her brother as a second option. Then, she turns her attention back to the prince. A soft smile forms on her lips. The prince looks as though he might completely melt under it. The king starts clapping his hands and descends from the stairs, saying the recovery program he heard earlier, in preparation for breaking off the engagement, was magnificently done. She is truly beautiful and intelligent. That is why wouldn't she? But before he can finish the sentence, her father covers his mouth and asks if he even knows what he is saying. He shouldn't say that. Yulia thinks, isn't that way too disrespectful? Her father makes sure he understands. The king nods twice, so he lets go of his mouth, but in the very next second, the king beams like a happy child and finishes his sentence. Wouldn't she become his son's bride? An intelligent young woman like her is necessary for their country. He wants her to support it together with his son. Noblewomen start whispering. Yulia responds with a polite smile. She respectfully declines. The king is visibly taken aback. He asks her why. Does she hold any dissatisfaction toward his son? Yulia replies that His Royal Highness is a magnificent person who is worthy of the responsibility of this country. The king asks her reason for refusal then. She says His Royal Highness and she are friends. They are companions that cooperate with each other for both of their benefits, so to speak. Besides, she is unvirtuous lady that had her engagement annulled from the Marquis household side just a moment ago. The citizens not currently present wouldn't know the details behind the reason why her engagement was broken. Some people may interpret it differently from the truth. Despite that, is he telling her that she's suitable to become empress? The king is at a loss for words. Then he turns toward the prime minister, asking for his opinion. The Prime Minister replies that even if he is asked, he cannot say much. The king mutters that he should at least offer some wisdom. The Prime Minister calmly responds that even if he does, he has no intention of giving a helping hand, since his son is also deeply in love with Yulia. The Prime Minister adds that according to reports, she is highly favored even among those involved in cultural exchanges. The prince exhales quietly and tells his father that winning her heart would likely be impossible. The king then turns back to Yulia and asks if there is anything she likes about the prince. Yulia considers the question. She replies that if she must name something, it would be his willingness to cooperate in supporting her business. The Prime Minister then says, would it be fine to hear the things she likes about mage as well? Mage immediately brightens, clearly pleased. Yulia thinks about it, the aspect where he is the biggest earner of their store. Despite being a big masochist, she feels that it is undeniable that he is coming out even. Mage cries out that is not true. At that moment, Count Noga pulls Yulia gently to his side and declares that there is no need for her to concern herself with marriage at all. He states that he intends to care for his daughter within House Noga for the rest of his life. He turns to Roland for agreement. Roland replies of course. The king lets out a tried sigh. Yulia cannot help but giggle, thinking that the way he sighs is exactly like the prince. Meanwhile, in the hallway Julie comes to a halt as Rammer catches up to her. She asks him why he followed her, reminding him that she had told him not to come today and that she herself had not planned to attend either. Rammer counters that she is here now regardless. He then explains that he read the book she loves. Because she likes it, and because the characters resemble them, he believed that recreating the events, breaking off the engagement at the dance party would make her happy. Julie is left speechless. At that moment, Matilda appears. She says it looks like everything is proceeding just like the prophetic writing. Well, not everything went like planned, but in the end, fate has returned to normal. She then introduces herself as the author of the book. Julie's eyes widen in shock as she exclaims that she reads her works constantly and is her greatest fan. She eagerly asks for an autograph only to stop herself. She complains because she changed the content like Yulia asked her to. Her fate went completely wrong and what is she going to do about it? Matilda says it is because she never thought that a child acting according to her book would appear. Julie tells Matilda that her books are divine books, she needs to think about her influence. She ends up laughing, but Julie asks her what is she laughing at. She says the truth is she inherited the blood of fairies and can make prophecies. That is why there's magic dwelling inside the story. She might have interfered with both of their fates. That is why it is not necessarily a mistake. Matilda tells Julie her sensitivity is quite conspicuous. Then, gesturing toward the ballroom, she tells Julie to observe Yulia, who is now dancing happily with the king. She describes Yulia as someone with a strong will, a person who carved through fate with her own hands. She advises Julie not to allow a story to dictate her life, but instead to walk forward on her own. Turning to Rammer, she says she will return to her son and that he should use this opportunity to reflect on his actions. Then she remembers something and turns back to Julie and mentions that she has a proposition for her. Back in the ballroom Yulia now dances with the prince. He asks what she discussed with his father earlier. She replies that it was once again about becoming his bride, along with several commendations regarding his royal highness. He notices her expression and asks what is troubling her. She admits that it feels strange. He asks what exactly feels strange. He says the royal family decided to comfort the pitiful young lady who had her engagement broken with a dance. She shouldn't worry about it and enjoy. She tells him she doesn't get it since dancing to her is a means of diplomacy for work. The prince smirks slightly and increases the pace, pulling her closer. She blushes but manages to follow his movements. When he comments on it, she admits that she is trying her best. He tells her to enjoy it more, like she does when speaking with Roland, Major, or when discussing business. She says business is fun. She says it is because the business is more fun. He asks, is he a boring man that cannot at least entertain his friends? As expected, it is disheartening. She looks at him. To her, it looks like he's having more fun. He says it is because she is following his absurd steps. At that, she becomes slightly annoyed and deliberately steps on his foot. She immediately apologizes, claiming it was an accident. He says it was clearly intentional. She denies it, adding that some men prefer innocence. He remarks that this only confirms he is right. Then, suddenly, he spins her faster, increasing the tempo. He asks how she finds keeping up now. He tells her that she may step on him if necessary and even guides her into doing so. Yulia bursts into laughter. She admits that this is actually enjoyable and tells him to go even faster. Like this, the curtains finally lowered on her long plan to break off her engagement. Her name is Renard, a first-grade student in the commoner building. Her extremely ordinary life is changing slowly thanks to Yulia Noga of the aristocrat building. The reason she has gained a lot of courage and is able to stand tall was all because of Ms. Noga, who wore the same shoes that she liked, which she also bought when she was downtown. Almost all of the aristocrats hate talking to the commoners, but Ms. Noga talks to them in a casual and friendly way. So of course, everyone in the commoner building fell in love with her in an instant. From that on, she often talks with Ms. Noga at noon. That is when Grintier and she found out that the brand they like called Ariad was actually owned by Ms. Noga. Not just that, there's also a fascinating group of men who follow her around. There's her big brother who takes care of everything that concerns her seriously, the shop assistant with weird hobbies, and there is the first prince of this country. People also say things like the prince is a friend of her. Being friends with royalty must be cool. Miss Nogawa behaving like a child in front of the prince is another one of her cute points. It would be so great if she was the fiancé of the prince. The face alone is worth it, and he is not like that cheater Raymer. But Yulia bluntly tells them the prince is her friend, and the difference between her social standing and the prince is way too big. Grintier immediately looks sad and says, "No way," while Renard doesn't give up and tries to convince her, social status doesn't matter. There's also something in her book here. She shows her the book in which the widow looks sad and murmurs, "Does he think falling in love with someone who has different social status is a crime?" The prince counters, "She is a countess, isn't she? She can marry anyone she wishes to marry." She points out, "But she was originally a commoner," her eyes filling up with tears. But then he leans closer and pats her on the head. He says the one she liked has a social status. He smiles and adds the man that was chosen by her must be very happy. There's only one thing he can tell her, no matter who she likes, it will never be a crime. She just has to love them in their own way. He cups her cheeks, his eyes searching hers while he says those words. Grintier and Renard soon over the scene. Yulia asks the girls do they like the book. They both reply in union, "Yeah." Grintier nods and says she thinks that the heroine will definitely be the lover of the prince in the next book. While Renard can barely contain her excitement as she wonders about the development. Yulia whispers she knows development after. This makes Renard surprised as she asks if she has also read this book, and if so, then does she know how the story unfolds. She replies she is actually an acquaintance of that book's author. Renard immediately gives her puppy eyes and asks if it is possible to get an autograph from the author. Yulia chuckles and says no problem. In exchange, she said before that she likes designing clothes, right? Is it possible for her to see the designs she has drawn so far? Renard looks surprised at first, but then she nods determinedly. A few days later, Renard brought the book with her designs here. Miss Noga might really be a queen, even if it is with her poor drawings. However, Yulia actually tells her it is cute, it truly does fit the concept of Ariad. She truly did take inspiration from their designs. Knowing that Miss Noga believes in her makes her happy. She has decided her goal is to be a designer for Ariad. Although she is not good enough yet, she will do her best to make her happy. At the shop entrance, Ariad. Yulia stands there with a small frown on her face. Matilda invited her to have a word with her. The man steps out of the shop and tells her Matilda is expecting her and tells her to go to the second floor. She tells her she thought she wasn't allowed in here. He says his lady has decided to lift the ban. As Yulia stands outside Matilda's store, she thinks this is where the heartbeat aristocrat is being produced. But then she shakes her thoughts away. Surely, Miss Matilda must be working for that villain Yulia. They may be conspiring something. But being invited to Matilda's office is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as she is careful, she's all right. She then knocks on the door. Matilda tells her to come in. She appears visibly nervous, but then enters. Later, she is pointing at herself in shock, repeating, "An assistant for her." Matilda smiles and yes, taking up the work all on her own is quite difficult. Julie softly says she does read a lot of her books and she does fantasize stories a lot, but she has never written anything on her own. Matilda tells her not to worry, skill will follow. The most important thing is imagination, that is what they need. In that sense, since she thinks she has quite the talent, that is why they called her in. Matilda offers her to start off as an assistant and maybe later create her very own story. But she twists her finger together and softly asks, "Is this also Julia's idea?" Matilda's smile turns a little less excited and she says, "Was it that obvious?" Julie looks sadder and admits she guesses she will always be one step ahead of her. On the other hand, Marco is curious, his son, that the entire Curian territory has been confiscated. They seized their mansion and all their properties. What are they supposed to do now? This is all because of his cheating. He says, in that regard, he has no excuse, but all he did was out of love. He doesn't regret having met Julie one bit. His father says he can move in with his wife's family and he can rely on the goodwill of the family, so he supposes that is better than not having a roof over their heads. But what are they going to do about the unpaid settlement fee? Raymar says he will take responsibility and repay it in full. But his father glares at him and snaps, a brat like him, who never worked a day in his life, cannot earn money. But he quietly rises and says he may not be able to run a business, but he is physically strong. He will do everything in his power to restore the Curian family. The father huffs and tells him he would like to see him try. Raymar Curian, the Marquis's eldest son, dropped out of school after ending his engagement to Yulia Noga. He began an apprenticeship in agriculture and estate management under the Panache family. Will he excel in agriculture, succeed in breeding crops, and become a leader in the field? That is still a long way to go. Time has passed since the termination of Yulia's engagement, and the school entered a long holiday. On its first day, Yulia arrives somewhere wearing a beautiful, long dress. It is a salon hosted by the Queen's tea salon, a social gathering exclusive to the royalty and upper nobility. She hears this event is also arranged to entertain visiting dignitaries from other countries. Then Julia received a personal invitation from the Queen herself. As a humble countess, she is honored beyond words. Is this a gesture of charity to a poor, jilted countess, or is it curiosity? The night of the royal ball, she has been sensing something from the Queen. It might just be her imagination, though. More importantly, this is a grand opportunity, wheeling in potential customers among the guests, finding new business partners. She smells profit. The butler behind her sighs and says she has that look on her face again. The attendant leads her to the table where Monica is already seated, a small smile playing on her lips. Yulia gives a polite bow, greeting her and asking how she is. She adds that her dress is beautiful and her hair accessory. Monica brightens instantly and says she noticed the hair accessory Yulia gave her. It was so lovely that she simply had to wear it. Yulia replies that she knew it would suit her. The compliment makes Monica blush. She lowers her gaze, unable to meet Yulia's eyes. Yulia thinks she is so cute. Truly the finest advertisement. She would like to get closer to her. But first she needs an effective alibi to leave before things get messy. Just then, the Queen arrives. With a warm smile, she greets Yulia and tells her to sit. Yulia takes her seat on the next table. Who is she to refuse the Queen's invitation? There are others at the table. Their presence alone makes it obvious they are not ordinary nobles. One of them asks who she is. The Queen introduces her. Among them, a young man looks openly displeased to see her there. When they hear she is a countess, one of them asks why invite someone of that rank here. The Queen beams and says she wants them all to become friends with the Queen. The eldest is Princess Lofen Lanfia. The youngest, Princess Mulan. And their brother, Prince Lofen Jua. Yulia smiles even though she sweats nervously. She thinks by sitting her at the same table as the neighboring country's royalty, she thinks the Queen has just set a stage for her. Yulia thinks such important state guests, she has the feeling, like the Queen put her here as some sort of obstacle to these people. A girl gives her a once-over and mutters, is a daughter of a count a suitable substitute for a queen? Yulia agrees with her. She wishes that she could have a conversation about sweets, dresses, and jewelry with people on another table. However, this is her chance to do a business talk, so why does she have to sit over here? These dresses and accessories of the three siblings of the royal family, she wouldn't take her eyes off it. The Queen then appears next to her, excitedly telling her that she already told her son that she is here, so she just needs to wait a while. That girl frowns while Yulia asks her, what is she talking about? Even that girl asks in a consenting tone, why would the prince want to meet this person? The Queen beams and says because Yulia is his favorite. Yulia shakes her head for her dear life. But then that girl's younger sister, who looks way polite, smiles softly and says, "In the name of love, peerage means nothing, isn't that right?" The third girl agrees with her. Yulia feels the tension between them and wonders why is there such a bad aura between them. She has heard before that Yuha doesn't get along well with other women other than his sisters. He avoided any look in her direction, at least it is better than when he gives her a glare. She then shifts her attention to tea and sips it. As expected, this tea is selected for royals. This is a leaf from the south. They can taste flowers and dried fruits if they sell this tea with baked sweets. Her thought abruptly ends when the prince shows up, and the first person he greets is Yulia. He then tells her it is about the bread for the army, but she looks away thinking it is really bad timing, and clicks her tongue. He leans over and whispers to stop clicking her tongue in front of the guests. She thinks no one but the prince notices as she looks at her brother who appears clueless. She yells at him to forgive her, but she currently understands. He asks her if she's okay. She raises her hand and gives him a dirty look, telling him not to appear around here for a while. She's afraid she will be thrown into some random ditch. He mumbles he's starting to worry over her. Roland then appears next to her and tells His Highness to stay away from her. He frowns at them and calls them terrible, while the siblings smile at each other fondly. Yulia flinches when she notices a girl is glaring at her, her cheeks red like tomatoes. However, Roland gives her a composed smile and says he hopes that his younger sister hasn't been bothering her. She quickly puts on a sweet smile and says not at all. Yulia realizes it seems like she's aiming for her brother. Juhua finally asks, "So, is she the younger sister which Roland had been talking of so fondly?" He asks with a slight frown, making her visibly nervous. She nods and replies that she is Yulia Noga. But then her gaze lands on his brooch and she cannot help but compliment it. He asks bluntly if she wants it. She insists not at all, she is interested in it as a special product of their country. Besides, it looks way better on him. He mutters even if she says that, the fact is that she was dazzled with the gem in it, the truth is that she really wants it, right? She smiles and tells him what she wants is not the jewel that he wears on him, what she wants is to establish a contract with him in order to import gems from his country. He says what a greedy woman she is and with a snap of his finger, his butler appears behind him and he mutters for such a greedy person, he will only deal with this kind of scrap stone. If she's okay with this, then they will come to an agreement. Yulia watches them carefully while the prince thinks he doesn't think she will be satisfied with such small stones. She takes out her magnifying glass, checking them carefully. Then she snaps her fingers. Her butler appears instantly. She tells him to bring the contract. Juhua looks taken aback. Yulia tells him to sign and seal it. Juhua doesn't look pleased. She reminds him calmly that she already said she wanted a contract and that he agreed to come to terms if he was satisfied with the tunes. The queen smiles, clearly pleased, and says she heard it all. Yulia smiles back and says that since Her Majesty can testify, they should proceed quickly. Juhua signs in silence. The prince mutters that her face looks a little evil right now. She shoots him a side glance. He adds that if she grinds it, the product will become smaller. How is she supposed to sell it then? She winks and replies that whether it is a pebble or anything else, she can sell it just fine. Roland catches on immediately. He says she is planning to target the common people with accessories. She confirms it. She adds that it will definitely sell but first, she needs the right craftsman. Good polish, good design. She asks Roland if he can help find a skilled polisher. He says of course. The siblings exchange a slightly dangerous smile. The prince teases Juhua he should be more careful with contracts, or the Nogas will squeeze him dry. Yulia thinks he really needs to stop giving Juhua unnecessary advice. Later that day, at the harbor Yulia stares at the ship Juhua brought, her eyes practically shining. The prince asks why she insisted on coming to the port. Is she that interested in ships? She says yes, she has always been curious about how much cargo ships from other countries can carry. Then she freezes. A boy from the ship calls out, greeting Prince Juhua. The voice feels familiar. The boy pauses too when he sees her. Yulia quickly looks away, he should ignore her, she is nobody. But he doesn't. He lights up when he recognizes her and waves, calling out her name, asking if it is really her. He asks if she changed her hair color and what is with the dress. She looks like some noble lady now. The prince turns to her, clearly questioning. Yulia mutters, oh well. How should she put it? Juhua faces the prince and inquires if the rumors are true. The prince acknowledges that the event took place roughly a week ago. Juhua then gazes at Yulia silently. Upon noticing his stare, she realizes he is affected. He expresses regret towards her, stating it must have been difficult. She responds with a smile, assuring him not to fret about it. Suddenly, he exclaims in frustration, questioning how he could remain indifferent, as to him, ending an engagement feels like death. She regards him with confusion, recognizing that he is being excessively theatrical. From behind, the prince gently taps her on the head, urging her to stop. He turns to Juhua, advising him not to perceive her as heartbroken, as it holds no significance for her. Juhua continues to feel troubled and expresses to the prince that he cannot comprehend how she remains unaffected. He has always believed that a woman's heart is as fragile as glass, so it must have caused her pain, a fact he cannot dispute. The prince reassures him not to be concerned, asserting that the lady's heart is made of steel, and he is confident about it. Yulia glances at him and comments that the prince is being inconsiderate. She states that she can also experience pain, and he ought to recognize that. He inquires if that is genuinely true, then asks what her response would be if money were introduced. Would her heart mend quickly? She answers without any hesitation that it certainly would. He raises his voice at her, demanding that she not so readily agree. She pauses for a moment, then asks the prince why he does not show up at their event again to heal her so-called broken heart. He smirks and tells her he never agreed to such a thing. He becomes annoyed as she continues to tease him. She sighs and says she had hoped he would accept. He tells her that she should learn to hold back and at least try to behave when others are around. She smiles and says she will consider it. As she looks at him, she realizes that he should have been angry with her, yet she wonders why he is being so kind instead. Lately, she has been having more conversations with His Highness, and she has to admit that she finds them quite enjoyable. Juhua notices the two of them talking. Suddenly, he draws their attention and asks the lady if she would like to look around inside. As he leads her in, Yulia is surprised to see that the design of the Lofen country is present everywhere, which is expected from a ship owner serving the royal family. She then notices Juhua's sad expression. She realizes that even a stern prince who claims to hate women cannot bring himself to treat a heartbroken woman unkindly. He shifts his gaze away as he notices her looking. Suddenly, he clenches his fists, admitting it might be impolite to ask, but he needs to know how exactly her engagement fell apart. He quickly shouts, clarifying that he is not forcing her to speak, and if she does not want to say it, she should not. She looks at him, wondering if he is truly a good person beneath that rough exterior. She explains that the person she was engaged to cheated on her with another woman. He never intended to marry her in the first place, and just like that, the engagement dissolved. Juhua is stunned, staring at her in confusion. She notices his bewildered expression and adds that the outcome was better than discovering the truth after marriage. Honestly, she could not care less about the whole affair. Juhua remains shocked by her calm demeanor. The prince interjects, telling Juhua not to worry about her, then warns Yulia not to toy with him. Yulia bristles with irritation. She turns to the prince and questions whether he thinks she harbors no feelings whatsoever for her ex-fiancé. She reveals that even before the engagement broke, she was fully prepared to spend her life with him. The prince is taken aback. He asks if that is truly the case. She confirms that she had steeled herself to build a life with him and had even wanted to love him, but a thought surfaced that she simply could not overcome. The prince studies her face. A smirk tugs at his lips as he ventures that she tried her best to love him but ultimately could not manage it. She smiles and tells him he understands perfectly, because the man was far too stupid for her to handle. She then asks why he concerns himself with such matters. He explains that he helped dissolve her engagement for her sake, and if she had confessed to loving her ex-fiancé, it would feel as though he had done something wrong, would it not? Suddenly, she points at him and declares that he did not help her for her benefit, but for his own. The prince shrugs with embarrassment, insisting that most importantly, he simply wanted to help a friend. She looks at him, her expression softening into silence. Then she smiles and tells him not to worry, because she is genuinely thankful to him for breaking off the engagement. He laughs, remarking that it would be nice if she were always like this. Juhua observes their exchange from the side. He suddenly turns toward the gate and asks them to excuse him. Both watch in confusion as he departs, returning after a while with a box in his hands. He apologizes for keeping them waiting. Opening the box, he reveals a necklace and tells Yulia it is for her. Her eyes widened, sparkling with surprise. She asks why. He explains that he acted rudely toward her earlier, and she should consider it an apology gift. She tells him she cannot accept it. He looks shocked and questions why, believing she had an interest in gems. She confirms that she does, but explains that a gift from a neighboring royal family cannot be sold. Furthermore, simply possessing such an item would invite suspicion that she is involved with him romantically. He watches her with clear confusion, unsure how to respond, while the prince steps in and assures her that accepting the gift should be fine, offering to stand as a witness. Even so, Yulia only lets out a quiet sigh and refuses once more, explaining that accepting it now would be no different from admitting she is heartbroken, an idea she finds rather irritating. Juhua remains puzzled, his expression still tense, until Yulia briefly studies his face and finds an unexpected charm in it. Noticing his unease, she gently reassures him that the contract they already established is more than enough for her, and she hopes he will not take offense at her refusal. With a light smile, she adds that he is surprisingly gentlemanly for someone who claims to have no interest in women. The prince reacts at once, urging her to stop toying with his friend. Yet Yulia's attention shifts as a new thought crosses her mind. She casually points out that the two of them seem close enough to address each other by name. The prince confirms that they have been friends since childhood, though his expression darkens slightly as he questions whether she is entertaining another unusual idea. Before she can respond, Juhua calls out to her, concern evident as he asks whether she is truly unaffected by her broken engagement. His tone carries a strange weight that leaves her momentarily confused. The prince then explains that in the Lofen country, when an engagement is broken, the blame is always placed on the woman, regardless of the actual reason. Juhua continues, describing how such women are often unable to return to society. Their noble standing is stripped away, and even their family's position suffers. As a result, women in his homeland are raised to behave in ways that please men, as dependence on them has become the accepted norm. Understanding finally dawns on Yulia, and she quietly remarks that life must be difficult for women in Lofen. With little opportunity to build something of their own, they are left with few choices. Juhua admits that this is the reality, as most women there rely entirely on men. Her gaze sharpens as she voices a blunt conclusion, wondering if such a system effectively turns women into dependents. The remark stuns Juhua, while the prince quickly rebukes her for speaking so harshly. Unfazed, she questions his reaction, prompting Juhua to gather himself and agree with her instead. He admits that if he ever becomes king, he intends to create laws that allow women greater independence. At that, Yulia's expression softens once more. A small, genuine smile appears as she offers him her support, quietly rooting for the future he hopes to build. Juhua arrives home and glances at his sister, slowly realizing that he is simply not good with women at all. In fact, he actively dislikes them. To him, they seem like creatures who cannot function without men, always acting clingy and far too dependent, a trait that makes him deeply uncomfortable. Just being in their presence is enough to stir unease within him. Meanwhile, at the guest house, Lampi asks Mulan how the Queen's salon went. Mulan happily shares that it went quite well. She met many gentlemen, and they all told her she looked very cute. Even so, she feels that Roland remains the best choice for her. He is handsome, smart, and undeniably kind. Still, a flicker of uncertainty lingers because he comes from a count's family rather than something higher. Lampi reassures her that it might actually be better that way. It would be far easier to bring him to Lofen, and she genuinely believes he would thrive there. Mulan agrees but then points out that Lampi is aiming for Prince Rudnik herself. She admits that once they both marry, she might feel a bit lonely. If she also marries someone from this country, she thinks she will find happiness. Lampi confesses that she did not get much chance to speak with the prince today, but she remains confident she will win him over in time. Mulan offers her full support and suggests that Lampi should try using the perfume their father gave her the next time she meets him. Juhua watches them from nearby and realizes that his sisters are also like other women in many ways. Still, because they share his blood, he cannot view them the same way he views strangers. To him, they feel close and deeply important. When Mulan turns and asks if he will help her too, he agrees without hesitation. A soft smile crosses his face as he thinks that if they were not siblings, they might not even glance his way. But because they share the same blood, they feel special to him. More than anything, he wants them to be happy. In his eyes, the prince is absolutely perfect for Lampi. He possesses power, status, and even magic. Juhua truly believes that he is the right person for his sister. Lampi suddenly turns toward Juhua and questions him about inviting the prince to his ship. He confirms it, explaining that the prince showed genuine interest in ships. Mulan feels confused, unable to understand why men like such things, as she does not find them cute at all. Her sister disagrees, reminding her that she should not dislike what men enjoy, since they need to get along with them somehow. Mulan looks surprised by her sister's advice and praises her, admitting she did not know Lampi possessed such good sense. She even asks her to share more of such thoughts, calling it a useful way to please men. Lampi then adds that she heard the count's daughter was also on the ship. The twins mention that she and the prince seem to have a good relationship. Juhua responds that he already looked into it, and it does not appear to be that kind of relationship. As far as he knows, the prince only sees her as a friend. His thoughts drift to Yulia. Her silver hair and large gray eyes stand out clearly in his mind. To him, she feels unlike any other woman he has ever met. His first impression of her is like the moon itself, softly glowing, almost unreal, as if she does not belong to their country at all. Yet there is more to her than just that. She is clever but calm, a little greedy, and completely unafraid of men. It is his first time meeting someone like her. A quiet thought crosses his mind, wondering if he could become her friend, just like the prince. The idea makes his face grow warm with a faint blush. Laofan country. It is an eastern nation with a long history of conquering and absorbing lands of different sizes, cultures, and people. The country's prosperity comes from the strict rule of the royal family. Because of its long history, the political system is controlled by men, clearly separating the roles of men and women, and this way of thinking still continues to the present day, a custom that feels outdated and unpleasant to this generation. A few days later, aboard a country ship, Yulia appears and greets the captain with a polite good afternoon. She asks if he would like to see some souvenirs. The captain looks at her with a quiet smile and notices her outfit, pointing out that she is wearing a more casual, downtown style today. She lightly asks if it suits her better, and he replies that both this and her usual dresses look good on her. She thanks him, and as they continue speaking softly, the captain notices two men standing behind her. Yulia calmly tells him it is fine and turns around, spotting Rish waving at her. At that moment, Juhua quickly approaches. Yulia apologizes for interrupting and thanks him for allowing her to come aboard earlier. He tells her there is no need to be so formal and asks what brings her here today. Yulia then presents a box, explaining that she has come to introduce her new product to the captain. Juhua looks confused and asks why she is not showing it to him instead. She smiles and explains that it is not meant for nobles, then asks if he would still like to take a look. As she opens the box, she proudly shows the accessories inside. The captain is shocked at first and exclaims that such items must be too expensive for them. However, Yulia calmly assures him that they are within budget. He refuses to believe it, insisting that only nobles could afford jewelry with gems. She gently asks him to take a closer look, pointing out that the gemstone is actually very small. The captain examines it carefully and soon realizes she is right. Juhua watches in surprise, wondering if these are the same gems he once gave her. Yulia confirms with a smile that they are indeed those small gems. He looks at her in disbelief as he notices how the design makes even a tiny gem stand out. The use of ribbons instead of chains, tied neatly, gives the piece a more elegant and charming look. He admits that she has managed to reduce the cost while still keeping the design attractive. Yulia then assures the captain that they will provide a gemstone certificate along with a 1-year warranty from the Noga family, and that the product now also includes a ribbon clip in a matching color. The captain becomes excited and agrees to purchase it, praising her for her excellent business sense. Yulia thanks him warmly. As she smiles, she realizes that if the captain's wife, who is known among the sailors, wears the necklace and shares where she got it, it will serve as perfect promotion, helping the product sell quickly. After the deal, the captain mentions that their boat has likely arrived and excuses himself, leaving the rest to them. Just then, a man approaches Yulia from behind and addresses her as princess. He expresses his displeasure at her casually boarding a ship from another country. Yulia turns to him with a calm smile and greets him as Captain Bahar, explaining that she is just about to leave. Juhua, standing nearby, is taken aback by the sudden encounter, especially upon hearing the man address her so familiarly as his beloved princess. Bahar tells her that it is time for her to get off and warns her not to board ships from other countries so freely. She brushes it off, saying he worries too much, and teasingly asks if he would come to bring her back if she were ever left behind on a foreign ship. He frowns at her carelessness and reminds her that she has no idea how vulnerable she can be. She looks at him in confusion, but before she can react, he pulls her closer and decides to take her back himself, mentioning that he has a few questions for her. She protests and asks if there is no other way to carry her. He pauses, then casually suggests holding her like a princess instead, adding that he might even kiss her if she does not mind. She quickly brings up no. At that moment, Juhua calls out to her from behind. She turns and politely excuses herself, saying that her acquaintance is there and wishing him a good day. However, Bahar shifts his attention to the boy and coldly reminds him that their princess is a national treasure, warning him not to think himself worthy of having her board his ship. Without another word, Bahar moves swiftly and leaves the ship in an instant, carrying her away before Juhua can react. The boy watches in shock, calling out after her. As he looks toward the sea, he begins to wonder if Bahar used wind magic to move so quickly, realizing that it must have been how he boarded the ship earlier as well. Moments later, Bahar stops on a bridge and gently sets her down. He asks if the sea breeze feels nice. She admits that she thought she might die from the sudden rush, but he calmly assures her that he would never let anything happen to the princess. Captain Bahar is a former pirate who now serves as the captain of the Noga merchant ships and plays a key role in their family's sea trade. Though once a pirate, he follows his own sense of justice and avoids killing. He joined the family after an incident that took place about 10 years ago. As they stand together, Yulia suddenly recalls that he wanted to ask her something and wonders if any problem has occurred. Bahar wastes no time and brings up the rumor that a certain man from the Duke's palace rejected her. His expression darkens as he clenches his fist, offering to kill him at once if she simply gives the word. Yulia quickly panics and tries to calm him, but he steps closer, unable to accept how anyone could reject a princess. His tone grows intense as he declares that he would rather get rid of that man and take her for himself, even suggesting she could become his wife instead. Yulia responds with a light smile, thanking him for the offer but refusing. She explains that she cannot let him act yet, as Rammer still has to fully pay the alimony. Her words leave Bahar stunned. She continues calmly, pointing out that there is no way she would end the engagement without gaining something in return. Bahar looks at her in silence before turning his face away, fully aware that the Noga family's way of collecting debts is far more frightening than anything else. He then offers to lend her some of his men, but she declines, saying there is no need. He lets out a quiet complaint, disappointed that he will not be getting the chance he hoped for. Yulia then clears up another matter, explaining that the rumors about her being in love with the prince are completely false. She admits she feels a bit sorry for His Highness, as he is a dear friend to her. Bahar, however, points out that she cannot be certain the prince does not feel differently. That thought catches her off guard. She admits that she has never sensed any romantic feelings from the prince and finds the idea confusing. Bahar simply reminds her that such things are not always obvious. Yulia reflects on everything she went through to break off the engagement, mentioning how much effort it took and how much help she received from the prince. She recalls making him test food, write reports, and share his thoughts, even though he often scolded her for her habits. She then asks Bahar if he still does not understand after hearing all that. Bahar looks at her and finally realizes that she has simply been making use of the prince's help. For a moment, he almost feels sorry for him. Yulia gives a small apology, and Bahar gently pats her head. He smirks, questioning if she wants him to convey this to the prince. As she watches him, Yulia feels that his actions make him seem like a caring older brother. Even if he can be rough at times, it is something she can overlook. He feels completely different from Roland. They begin walking together, and Bahar asks about their next stop. Yulia explains that she plans to check the cargo first before heading to Ariad to inspect the progress there. Soon after, she arrives at the second floor of Ariad, at Matilda's workroom. Matilda opens the door and warmly greets her, saying she has been waiting. As Yulia steps inside, she is surprised to see Miss Benanch there. She greets her, noting that it has been a long time, and the other woman responds with equal surprise, agreeing that it truly has been a while. Benanch hands the script to Yulia, who takes it carefully and says she will have a look. As she opens it, she is surprised by the title, 100 Ways to Turn a Villain into a Prince Charming. The story follows a villain who slowly transforms into a prince because of the female lead's advice. Yulia smiles, finding it entertaining and certain it will sell well, while also recognizing it as a valuable learning experience. Bananch looks surprised and asks if something is wrong with the script. Matilda agrees that it is interesting but wonders how it serves as a learning experience. Bananch is stunned, then tells Yulia that it makes sense because she always seems to have good men around her. Yulia looks shocked and questions if that is true. Bananch explains that the boys around Yulia are all high-quality men. Yulia feels confused, her brother is her brother, Major is childish, and Rudnick is a big softy. Bananch sighs, pointing out that this is exactly what she dislikes about her. She then adds that there is something she has been meaning to ask Yulia. Curious, Yulia asks what it is. Bananch leans closer and asks who Yulia likes. Yulia freezes for a moment, lost in thought, wondering if she even knows the answer in a romantic sense. Then she turns the question back to Bananch. Bananch admits she once liked the prince for being handsome and cool but now prefers Raymore, who stayed by her side until the end. She laughs and tells Yulia that now it is her turn. Yulia waves her off, saying it is alright and that she does not fully understand herself. Bananch looks confused, and Matilda jumps in, asking if there is anyone Yulia finds cool. Yulia answers that it is her brother, but Bananch quickly reminds her to exclude family and asks if there is a man she enjoys spending time with. Yulia admits there are a few. Bananch suspects it is related to business, and Yulia confirms it. That angers Bananch, who shouts at her, asking if there is no man she enjoys being with just for fun, without any work involved. Bananch notices that Yulia has gone frozen in place and wonders if this might be her first experience with love. Matilda leans closer and whispers to Yulia that she will not be able to keep pretending she is unaware of her feelings for long. Yulia meets her gaze, remembering the dance with His Highness, which had been undeniably fun. She shakes her head, realizing such thoughts are dangerous. If she were to speak them aloud, she fears there would be no turning back. At this rate, her freedom could be lost. Perhaps it is better to remain silent. On the other side, in the royal palace, Lampy notices the prince and greets him with a good morning. He replies in the same manner, prompting her to ask how he has been. She smiles to herself, thinking that with the perfume she is wearing, no man could resist her charm. Suddenly, the prince notices the scent as well, leaving her momentarily confused. He quickly apologizes, explaining that he thought it was something her friend would truly enjoy, though he admits she would prefer to stock up on it herself. Just as she is about to ask him more about his friend, a boy approaches the prince, and he excuses himself. Yulia watches him leave, standing quietly in silence. As the carriage stops on Noble Street, Lampy steps down. Yulia, present with her brother, notices her and her sister. Mulan leaps from the carriage, spotting Roland and calling his name. She rushes forward, expressing how happy she is to see him again and how much she wants a long chat with him. She then turns to Lampy, informing her that she will not be attending the tea party today and will be spending time with Roland instead. Lampy shrugs and tells her to do as she pleases. Mulan turns back to Roland, mentioning she heard of a famous sweet shop nearby and hopes they can go there. He explains that he has business to attend to, but she smiles, reminding him that she is a princess from a neighboring country and hopes he won't refuse. He grins and agrees to accompany her for a while. Together, they leave, Lampy left behind, visibly annoyed at her sister for ignoring him and spinning away so casually. Suddenly, Yulia calls out, asking if Lampy will attend the saloon today. Lampy confirms, noting that the prince will be there, though she does not seem to have an invitation herself. Yulia reminds her that, as a count's daughter, she is not expected to receive one. Both women laugh, and Yulia thinks herself lucky, as she has important business to attend today. Lampy then calls out again, curious if the rumors of Yulia's business success are true. She questions how the count's family could make women work for money, believing a woman's place is to be a beautiful flower by a man's side. Yulia nods, explaining that it is only one of many ways to live. Lampy leans closer to Yulia, giving her a sharp look and wondering why the prince would be interested in someone so unpleasant. Yulia snaps back, noticing Lampy's lipstick and exclaiming how wonderful it is, asking if it is a new brand. The lady is taken aback, questioning what she said. Yulia praises her, noting that the color enhances her charm and that the perfume complements it perfectly, then asks if she could be introduced to the manufacturer. Lampy reveals that she made both herself. Yulia is astonished, admiring her exquisite taste and the effort behind the cosmetics, even suggesting a collaboration with her own cosmetics department. Lampy grows irritated, asking Yulia to stop. Yulia apologizes, explaining she got carried away but adds that her products could inspire others in the country. Lampy questions her intentions, wondering what a prince could possibly like about her. Yulia calmly states that she and the prince are just good friends. Lampy sighs, remarking that even a single beautiful flower is enough to stand by the prince's side, and she intends to be that flower. Yulia agrees, noting that Lamphia's marriage would benefit both countries. Lampy glares at Yulia, pointing out that her situation is far removed, having annulled her engagement. Yulia nods, agreeing. Lampy grows angry, asking how Yulia can be so nonchalant about being called damaged goods. Yulia brushes it off, shifting the conversation, and asks if Lampy is interested in the country's famous products or wants to see the latest release, offering to give it to her before she leaves. Lampy declines, explaining she will not be returning home soon and plans to stay here for a while longer. Yulia looks at her, confused. Captain Bahar is an orphan, and the name Bahar was given to him by the orphanage director. The orphanage struggles with a lack of funds, and he was forced to work from a very young age. The world offers few opportunities for someone who grew up in an orphanage. People need money to survive, yet no one is willing to hire them. It is no surprise that they had to resort to desperate measures. Together with his friends, Bahar becomes a pirate. They never kill, following a strict code. If they did, they would only create more people like themselves. 10 years ago, they were captured by a powerful man. His friends warn him that they are doomed. Bahar smiles and says it cannot be helped. It is time to pay their dues. Confused, they ask what will happen to them. The captor coldly explains that capture carries a death penalty. One boy protests, claiming their only crime was theft, and they had not killed anyone. Bahar tells him to stop, advising that at least some of them may have escaped and that all is not lost. He accepts the situation. Suddenly, a small girl appears and politely asks to be excused. The guards look at her in surprise, questioning who she is. One man hushes them, explaining that she is the daughter of the Noga family. Bahar opens his eyes, watching her approach. She asks if they are willing to follow her for the rest of their lives. The boy's eyes widen, and he nods. She turns to the guards, explaining that these men were her employees. She asks if they would release them for a fee. The man replies that they cannot, as the pirates have bounties on their heads. She then looks at Bahar, asking if he is her employee. He is confused, wondering how she knows his name. A boy shouts that the guards belong to the Noga family. Bahar realizes that the princess must have known about them through rumors and happened to be on board at the time of their arrest. He reflects that perhaps it is fate. The princess had rebuilt their orphanage, taken care of more children like them, and given them work. She explains to Bahar that their business plans to expand, and workers are never enough. Training employees from a young age is a small price to pay. He questions why she goes so far for them. She tells him that he is not employed simply because he was an orphan, which forced him into piracy to survive, or so he had heard. She insists that it is her obligation to help, pointing out that merchants created the circumstances that led them here. Bahar shakes his head, hesitant, but suddenly kneels before her. He calls her princess and pledges to follow her for the rest of his life, promising to make her happy. She chuckles, teasing that he sounds like he is proposing. He smiles, assuring her that he wants to make her the happiest person alive and will achieve it with his own hands. Back in the present, Juhua approaches Bahar, questioning what he is doing as he hugs a lady. Bahar turns to look at Juhua, then faces the lady, apologizing and explaining that he needs to discuss some work. He asks her to go ahead without him. She nods, asking if he will be back, then waves and leaves, signing off from the place. Bahar turns back to Juhua, telling him that it is his day off, so if he wants to talk, he should hurry and get it over with. Juhua shouts, accusing him of trying to kiss Miss Yulia and now acting nonchalant with another woman, demanding to know what he is thinking. Bahar asks if it is all because of that, just as Roland arrives and questions whether Bahar is trying to hit on Yulia again. Bahar smiles and shakes his head, explaining that it is not about hitting on her, it is more like a proposal. Both boys are shocked by the word. Bahar blinks and clarifies that the lady has already broken off her engagement with the son of the Marquis Rammer, so he believes it is acceptable for him to marry the princess. Roland shouts that there is no way he would allow it. Bahar smiles knowingly, saying he expected that response, but adds that if the princess wishes it, he will make her happy, even if he has to kidnap her to do so. Juhua shouts at him, calling him a bastard and questioning what he is saying when he already has another woman waiting. Bahar remains calm and steps closer, telling Roland that he acts high and mighty just because he is a prince, but he is not afraid of him in the slightest. He then walks off, announcing that he has a woman waiting and will be going on a date with the princess this afternoon. Roland calls out, reminding him that he is only visiting the orphanage and telling him not to describe it like a date. He knows his schedule and says that if Bahar calls it a date, then so be it. Roland throws a bag of money to Bahar, explaining that it is his allowance and urging him to get going. Bahar catches the bag, remarking that Roland is the one making him stop. Roland tells him he will overlook his womanizing this time but warns him not to touch Yulia. Bahar smirks, assuring him it will not happen. If the princess consents, he will return to being a pirate and personally ensure her happiness. At the street corner pastry shop, Yulia steps out after buying some pastries, wondering if it will be enough for everyone. She thinks about how many children there might be at the orphanage and realizes that heavy or bulky items will have to wait until the captain arrives. Suddenly, a boy approaches her and politely asks for a moment. He addresses her as Miss Yulia of the Count Noga family and says that, if she doesn't mind, he would like to discuss a business opportunity with her. Yulia studies him, realizing he is a merchant she has never seen before, and asks if he could just give her a brief overview. He insists that he has some jewelry to show her. Yulia feels a little uneasy, but before she can respond further, he pulls out a knife and points it at her. She freezes, wondering if this is the person she feared and whether he is trying to kidnap her. Confused, she questions what exactly is happening and why. Somewhere else, the prince searches the shops for Yulia, wondering if she should already be at the orphanage. Suddenly, her brother approaches, explaining that they inspected the Noga family orphanage once in a while and that Yulia herself went downtown to buy pastries and other items for the children. He praises her, saying she is such a good little sister. One of the boys adds that Captain Bahar mentioned he would meet Miss Yulia this afternoon. The prince asks if there is any chance she is alone right now. Her brother hesitates but admits that Yulia often goes downtown by herself, leaving her servants behind. Juhua is shocked and shouts, worried for her safety. The boys fall silent, unsure of what to do. Her brother admits he is starting to worry and suggests splitting up to search. The prince starts running in another direction, a bad feeling gnawing at him as he wonders where she could be. Meanwhile, the strange boy leads Yulia to a quiet corner. She notices the smell of the sea and realizes they are near the harbor. He brings her to a warehouse, telling her to sit on a chair if she wants to save her life. She obeys and sees many people around her. He ties her down, but she notices the knots are loose. She questions him, asking what he intends to accomplish. He replies that it is none of her business. She sighs, thinking it is funny that she is being kidnapped. She observes the people around her, realizing they seem reluctant participants, and wonders what is happening, deciding to stay calm for now. The prince, exhausted, worries about where Yulia has gone, fearing something might have happened to her. He imagines her clicking her tongue at him again, which makes him shake his head and try to focus. He remembers her face, realizing she is undeniably cute, then quickly pushes the thought aside. He recalls having asked the nearby shops to keep an eye out for her, but there has been no news. Suddenly, he spots the captain running. The captain notices the prince and rushes to ask if he has seen the princess, and the prince replies that he is also searching for her. The captain scolds him, saying what happened to Yulia is none of his business. The prince insists he is her friend and has the right to know. The captain tells him to stay put, warning that this concerns the princess and is a serious matter. Shocked, the prince demands to know if she is in danger. The captain explains that someone saw her and took her away, but he did not recognize the person. The prince shouts that there is no time to waste and asks if there is any other lead. The captain replies that if there were, it would not be so difficult. Determined, the prince declares he will find her and begins using his magic. He tells the captain to be quiet as he concentrates, closing his eyes. He senses her presence near the harbor and notices a faint additional presence mixed with hers. Shaking his head, he dismisses it as not the time to consider. The prince and the captain run toward the harbor, bursting into the warehouse. They see Yulia and shout. The captain orders the boys to stay away from the princess. The prince is stunned, realizing the captain can use magic as well. The prince rushes toward Yulia, asking if she is all right. She tells him to turn, noticing her skirt has slipped up. As he turns, she thanks him. He questions what the boys did to her, and she replies that it's not a big deal. He asks why her skirt is up, and she looks confused, explaining that it's a misunderstanding, she had flailed her legs, and her skirt slipped. She then notices the boys being beaten by the captain and wonders who will take care of them. She questions when the other of the two kidnappers will arrive. The prince sees the captain and rushes to hold him off. The captain shouts, asking what he is doing, but the prince tells him to wait because they still need to interrogate the boys. The princess asks the captain to stop. He turns to her and obeys, saying he will follow her instructions. They untie Yulia, and the prince looks at the boys, questioning if they were the ones who kidnapped her. One of the boys steps forward, claiming responsibility and telling the prince to leave the other one alone. The prince studies him and notes that he looks familiar. He realizes that, in this case, the mastermind behind the kidnapping matters more than the individual, as someone may have been pulling the strings. The boy with the cap instructs his companion to stand down. The prince observes him and judges that he is not a noble and likely not the main culprit. He turns to Yulia, asking how she wants to handle the situation. She smiles, leaving him confused. The captain shouts at the prince, asking if he wants these people near the princess. The prince explains that since they are present, the situation is under control. Any danger will be neutralized immediately if things get out of hand. The princess, surprised, asks how he knew what she was thinking. She then requests to ask the boy one question, wondering what instructions the client gave. The boy explains that they were told to wound her, that the method didn't matter, and that they couldn't survive without taking such jobs. Yulia claps her hands in surprise and smiles, saying they are lucky she is already a damaged goods after her engagement was broken. The boy looks confused, and the room falls silent. She observes their clothing, recognizing it as local, and smiles, asking the boy to tell his employer the job is complete and to report it. The boy is puzzled, and the prince watches her, stating she is enjoying her role as a wounded lady. Yulia notices his gaze and shouts at him, asking what he means. She explains that she wants to turn the situation into a business opportunity, suggesting they could develop a product to heal broken-hearted women. The boy looks confused again. Yulia reassures them that she thinks they are all good people. Despite kidnapping her, they brought food and water, and the ropes were tied loosely so as not to hurt her. She tells them that if they have any trouble with their client, they can rely on her, and she will help them. The boy and the prince are both shocked by her words. The prince is shocked, wondering if the lady is truly considering making the very people who kidnapped her employees. The captain sighs, muttering that she is far too kind-hearted. The prince thinks they should leave immediately, but he knows the kidnappers aren't entirely to blame. The kidnappers whisper among themselves while Yulia waits patiently. She smiles, telling them that if there is ever anything they need in the future, they should feel free to visit the Noga family residence. The prince smiles, thinking once again how kind-hearted she is. She glares at him, telling him not to say unnecessary things. He apologizes. Yulia sits down on a chair and takes a deep breath. Suddenly, the prince scoops her up, asking her to excuse him. She looks at him, shocked. He explains that no matter how strong her heart is, she is still a woman, and he would lose his manhood if he were always the one being protected. She should rely on him at times like this. She hides her face in his embrace, whispering that no one has ever said something like that to her, and she doesn't know how to respond. He tells her it's no matter, she should just stay still and let him carry her. For her, it is embarrassing. He says she should consider herself a burden because even he cannot carry someone without thinking the same way. The captain steps closer, suggesting that he should carry the princess instead. Yulia quickly turns to him, telling him to go collect the souvenirs for the children. The captain is surprised. She explains that if they return without the souvenirs, the children will be disappointed. He shouts that she can have the others bring them instead. She glances at the captain, questioning if he truly trusts them with the task. The captain closes his eyes, realizing he has no choice, and shouts at the boys to handle the princess's luggage. Suddenly, a blush spreads across Yulia's face as she notices the prince's hands brushing against her chest. The prince carries Yulia out of the warehouse and tells her they should head to the orphanage now. She feels embarrassed and asks him to put her down. He looks at her, questioning if she can walk on her own. She assures him she can and adds that she feels heavy. He comments that he is not so weak that he cannot carry a woman, wondering if she sees him that way. She looks at his face and remarks that he looks relatively slender. He asks if that is what she truly thinks. She laughs, saying she is sure most women would like men like him. He then asks about her specifically. She hesitates, remaining silent. He teases, guessing she likes someone who does not waste money. She gets angry, telling him it is rude of him. He laughs, saying she must like someone just like her and apologizes, still amused by the thought. She throws the question back, asking what kind of woman he likes. He thinks for a moment and replies that he likes a woman who does not restrain herself, especially in front of him, as he finds it challenging and intriguing. He wonders if she thinks it would be difficult to act that way. She chuckles, saying not really, and scolds him for being rude again. She smiles, admitting she did not expect such an answer from the first prince of the country, noting that he sometimes seems like an ordinary person. He agrees, saying that every man, regardless of stature, wants to be suited by the woman he is interested in. She pets his hair, and he looks at her. She admits that he is acting so cute that she cannot help herself. Suddenly, Yulia looks at the prince and asks if he first loved Matilda. He is shocked and questions what makes her think that. She explains that she heard a woman close to a boy as a child often becomes his first love. He tells her that Matilda is like a mother to him, and if he had fallen in love with her, the prime minister would have thrown him down. He instinctively understood that as a child. Yulia then asks him what kind of woman was his first love. He tells her he still does not understand what love is, so he does not think he has one yet. She smiles, asking what he would do if he fell in love. He looks at her in confusion, unable to imagine himself falling in love. He adds that he has heard women become more beautiful when they experience love, and since she is a genius at drawing people, any man would be captivated by her. She wonders if he would be captivated too, but quickly shakes the thought away, realizing she should not think like that. Now, she feels she needs to get away from the prince. She asks him to excuse her and requests that he put her down. He reminds her that he already told her he can handle it. She insists that with more people on the way, it is embarrassing, so he should put her down. He sets her down, and she thanks him. He asks if it is not time for her to stop doing that. She asks what he means. He shouts that she should stop calling him His Highness and questions if she does not think that is too formal for a friend. Yulia smiles, realizing the prince is acting like a kid. She tells him that she should still call him His Highness. He replies that it does not really change anything. She explains that even though they are friends, he is still a prince and she is a guest, so the queen might misunderstand if they drop formalities and use first names. She asks him to forgive her for this. He sighs. Suddenly, the captain rushes over, shouting that they should go to the orphanage. Yulia agrees with him. He asks if they will continue shopping. She says yes, mentioning that they plan to buy utensils, sweets, and drawing materials. The prince asks if he should come along, and she tells him of course. Before leaving for the orphanage, she meets her brother and Juhua, who were looking for her. Her brother scolds her heavily, and then they all head to the orphanage. When they arrive, the children are overjoyed to see the princess. She hands out the gifts, and a little girl calls the other children, telling them that the princess brought presents. They are surprised to see the prince as well, and many of them jump on him. The prince looks confused and asks if that is mage. One of the boys tells him that it is his brother. The prince is shocked and says he can explain. Juhua, standing to the side, looks confused. Yulia asks if he knows him. Juhua confirms that he does. The boy asks if that is correct and comments that it has always been that way, but leaving the boy's side shows a lack of discipline. Yulia looks at him. The prince explains that the boy is no longer his aide. Juhua asks what happened. He questions if he made a mistake so serious that he had to resign as an aide. Yulia explains that Major is a capable man. He visits the orphanage more often than she does. He teaches the children manners and helps them study. The boys are surprised and argue with her, shouting that they cannot believe it. One says his brother was trained strictly by their father. The prince agrees, noting that his instructor is serious and cool. Yulia ignores the prince and tells the little girls that she brought many souvenirs and that they should share them among themselves. The prince notices Juhua lost in thought and asks what is wrong. The boy dismisses it, saying it is nothing. He adds that he thinks Miss Yulia is amazing and cannot believe she does charity work like this. The prince admits he is surprised too and wonders if something is unusual about it. Suddenly, Yulia's brother approaches the prince and asks if he does not think there is more to this than meets the eye. The prince looks confused, and her brother tells him that he will understand more once he goes inside. The prince apologizes for intruding and walks in.